Streamlabs taking its sweet earth time coming in. Hey guys, welcome to the live. Sorry we're running late. I'm gonna say that we're just all to blame really. We're just waiting on Adam, but he came in at 7. And then we were just talking about a couple things. So sorry we're late a little bit, guys. Sorry, not sorry. We're all trying to wake up, I think, a little bit somewhat here. Anyway, so Charmaine's with us, and of course, Aspen Airlines. Anyways, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, living the dream. You know, it's Monday. Mondays are always hard for me. I don't care. They just always are. Are they for you guys too?
Oh, they're the worst.
It's like I used to always hate Mondays because it's like that means you're leaving the weekend. Unless, of course, there's a long weekend.
Right.
Yeah. Do you
Well,
guys?
I'm typically running from work to get to the live on time, so
Yeah.
Mondays are always hectic, and it feels like it never fails. That like every Monday, something wants my attention every second of the day, whether it be Delphi, whether it be Sunny. Sunny rarely bothers me.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true.
Sometimes I'm like, she doesn't even love me, but and no one bothers me, but it's like, there's always like, stuff that comes out, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah. Thank you for sending me the documents over today. I wasn't even paying attention.
Well, I have to say, I'm Carroll County Clerk, and I.
Oh, really? Faith?
I don't even,
You don't, I know.
I don't even have to request them.
Email her anymore. They just come. Is that pretty much what it is?
Well, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but right now we're at that level.
You're at that level. Okay. At some point during the live tonight, too, we'll give out 5 memberships. And again, thanks for everyone that has contributed and given memberships, like Charmaine. And it's on the tip of my tongue.
Gail has been.
I was going to say it was Gail, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Gail was the other one that's been doing these, whatever, and Mustang and, all these people that have been supporting the channel. What?
Oh, Shelley.
What's Shelley saying? What's Shelley? Aston? No, not Aston. Anyways, you guys, tonight we're going to be talking about Delphi for about a half an hour, I suppose. And then we're going to talk about the Jennifer Crumbley trial that's been going on and gets everyone's thoughts and opinions on that. We'll play a little bit of court TV stuff because I want your guys' opinions on a couple of things that were said there by some of the panel that was on there. Wish I can gift memberships. No, you're too busy begging for a membership. Isn't that more like it? One day, maybe tonight, Mark. Maybe tonight. Yeah. So if anyone wants to hear Rick Astley, just there you go. You get a membership.
Oh, Rick Rowland, yes.
Hey, yeah, Rick Rowland. You know what? Maybe I'll do it now. There's 40 people in here. Let me just do that. Let me see if I can hit the thing now. Oh, hold on. No. Where is it? Membership gifting. Oh, there it is. I'm going to gift 5 right now. We're going to give a little Rickroll going on here. There's 5. There we go. Let's see. It's a common thing. Thank you, YouTube. Let's see who got those. Okay, hold on.
Hey, Frank. Thank you. Thank you for being a member for 10 months.
Who did that? Frank? Hey, Frank. Rabbit hole PI. Thanks. I got to actually, no, I'm not going to change that name. I'm going to be changing the names actually. PJ Second Chance, Susie, Joan, Leslie, and Michelle Miga got one. And thanks, Frank, for being a member for 10 months. Yeah. There we go. Sorry, Mark. You didn't get one, Mark. Sorry, buddy. Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Susie. How are you?
And I know Frank did a live earlier tonight. I haven't watched it yet, Frank, but I'll try to go back and watch the replay.
I was there.
Yeah?
Yep.
What was it about? Delphi?
Yeah, something about Delphi.
Oh, I'm not going to desert you. Go on. Oh, you guys are just going to wait for the next one, huh?
Well, sometimes they come back to back. So
Mhm.
I'll let one more play and then I'll mute it and then you
Yeah.
two can talk for a second.
Now, what are we going to talk about?
Okay.
I
Well,
just don't know what are we going to talk about.
good fight. Good fight. There we go. Okay. Well, we're going to start by reading this motion for continuance. It's not very long. So we'll be doing that in just a second. Adam, do you have it open or do you have this open, Adam? You don't have to. I mean, freaking, I can read it. I don't care.
I mean, I'm sure I have it open somewhere.
Where's Rick Astley?
He usually comes in late.
Yeah. Well, usually when he hears Rick Astley, the song is like.
This is the motion for continuance.
Well, and Gail wants us to play the other song about drinking. I see. I get it. Thanks, Gail.
Yeah, I have it open now.
Okay. Well, just give it a second. Just give it a second. Are we in a rush? All right. We just got one more. We got Gail's to come, but hers isn't Rick Astley. Hers is the other one because it's a super chat on there.
Oh, thank you, Gail.
How can you not like this? I know.
I agree, Mark. It's one of the greatest.
I'm tired of it.
I'm not. There's certain songs that pick me up, and it just, it wakes me up in a sense. I'm already awake.
Buttercup.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll stick with Rick Astley.
Right. We don't want to take a side in the Hall & Oates feud.
Anyways.
I love Hall & Oates.
Oh, Hall & Oates, yeah.
I know. I'm just saying I don't want to take a side in their feud.
There we go. I need you now.
Super chat, $10. Thank you.
I love
Thank you,
that.
Gail.
Hi, Lacey.
Or Lacey, she smelled at him from within a mile, and she was like, "I'm there." Yeah. Okay. So, before we get reading this, anybody have anything else to say?
I would love the Baby Shark song to play. I would donate so much, Sonny.
Baby Shark.
I sang that entire song yesterday.
It's one of those songs that once it gets in your head, it's like I'd go to bed and my husband would be like, "What the hell are you singing?" And I'm
I make up when I'm with I know we need to get into Delphi. When I'm with my niece, I make up other lyrics to it. So like when we're brushing our teeth, I'll be like, "Brush your teeth, do 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 do. Brush your teeth, do 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 do."
floss, 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 floss.
And then we're like,
Well, Gambler, Boy George, there's another one. Yes, I would listen to that. I would donate with the Culture Club all the time. You could load me up with 80s music and I'll just keep donating to listen to it all night long.
Well, that's a loaded question. We're not going to get into that right now. Gun clubs in the U.S. should check guns used or registered using them. We'll get that when we get into the other case, on there. You don't do those filters anymore. Oh, well, I don't know that it has the tampon anymore, to be honest with you. Because what happened was Snapcam stopped. Like they stopped doing Snapcam, but some guy, he had put a bug fix to it, but he didn't get them all. I'd have to check my Snapcam, but that's kind of what happened. Because I was pissed because I like being a potato. I like being a lot of different things a lot of times, but anyways, I'll have to check on that one, to be honest with you. Anyways, let's get into the Adam, could you get into the motion for continuance?
I will not read it in the tune to Baby Shark.
What?
Like,
We're trying to get viewers here. Come on now.
like sua sponte do 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 sua sponte.
That's cute. Okay. All right, mister.
All right. Okay. I'll just read the whole thing.
You're muted.
Yeah.
I meant to take my camera off. Sorry.
Oh,
Comes now the defendant, Richard Allen, by attorneys Bradley A. Rosie and Andrew Baldwin, respectfully request that the court continue the February 12th, 2024 hearing on the state's motion to amend information filed on January 18th, 2024. In support of said motion, attorneys Rosie and Baldwin state as follows. On January 18th, 2024, the state filed an amended charging information and motion for leave to amend said information. The state's request is to add 4 additional accounts to the original charging information. And just interrupt me if you want me to stop at any point to talk about anything. On February 1st, 2024,
Okay.
the court issued an order setting the state's motion to amend for a hearing on February 12th, 2024 at 9 a.m. At the time of the filing of the amended information, attorney Rosie and Baldwin were not acting as Richard Allen's lawyers. It was approximately 6 hours later that they were reinstated as Richard Allen's lawyers in this cause. As of the date of this motion, attorneys Rosie and Baldwin are in the process of recovering the voluminous discovery in this cause. The discovery has involved the transfer of information from attorneys Scrimmin and Librato to prosecutor McClelland and then to attorney Rosie's office. The discovery must then be shared between attorneys Rosie and Baldwin, whose law offices are separated by nearly 100 miles. In addition to recovering discovery that was previously possessed by attorney Rosie and attorney Baldwin, the prosecutor's office has now directed additional and what appears to be new discovery to attorneys Rosie and Baldwin. The new discovery, upon initial review, appears to be quite voluminous and will likely take several weeks for attorney Rosie and Baldwin to review. There is also the difficulty of communicating with their client regarding the new discovery, considering the distance between the client and their lawyers. Sorry. Without having an opportunity to review the entirety of the new discovery, attorneys Rosie and Baldwin have no way of determining whether or not the amendments will prejudice the substantial rights of the defendant. Attorneys Rosie and Baldwin are private practitioners and therefore have other clients and responsibilities that must be prioritized in addition to their client, Richard Allen. Some of these priorities involve client conferences and scheduled hearings set during the week of February 5th, 2024. That's this week. Furthermore, attorney Rosie is scheduled to be out of the state of Indiana on Monday, February 12th, 2024 on personal matters. Any reasonable delay allowing for attorneys Rosie and Baldwin to get back up to speed, exchange discovery, communicate with defendant Allen, and review the new discovery would not be of any detriment to the state. And on January 29th, 2024, defendant Allen filed his verified motion to disqualify and accompanying affidavit. The filing of a motion for disqualification and or request for recusal strips the court of jurisdiction to decide on any matters until a ruling of the disqualification motion occurs. Lucas first state, therefore, it seems logical that the motion to disqualify would be fully adjudicated before any further hearing take place or before any further orders are issued by the court. Wherefore, attorneys Rosie and Baldwin respectfully request that this court continue the February 12th, 2024 hearing on the state's motion to amend charging information and reschedule the matter on a date and time convenient for all parties and after a full and just adjudication on defendant Allen's verified motion to disqualify takes place. Respectfully submitted, Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin.
Okay. So.
And then there's a certificate of service, but we don't need to read that.
No. Okay. So obviously we're finding out that there's more discovery, a voluminous amount or whatever of discovery. What do you think of them apples?
Well, I don't think that, and hold on to your butt, Adam, listen to this. I don't think that Nick McClelland lied in October, saying that he had already handed everything that he had over up to that point. But discovery is coming in constantly, and we don't know what kind of testing they may have done. We don't know if any information came from the depositions and interviews they did throughout the summer. So I have a hard time believing that it was, because there are, and I've listened to quite a few lives, and there are a number of people out there that are screaming from the rooftops that it was discovery that was given to the new lawyers that they didn't intend on giving to Rosie and Baldwin. And I just don't buy that myself, just because I keep saying it for the defense. They're not going to put something into record that's not true. It's just that simple. They're just not going to. So
Yeah. I personally actually agree with you on this, to be honest. Like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, yeah, he was being shady, Nick, or whatever. Wonder Girl had said, too, that there was like all these, in the building in Delphi, that there's been just a lot of action going on over there and stuff like that. I'm sure there is a lot of other stuff that's been coming in and stuff like that. I don't know. Adam?
I mean, I personally tend to agree with you, Charmaine. I don't think.
You mean in this case?
I mean, and the reason is, and I'm not saying that, I think that, that the prosecutions don't withhold information sometimes that they shouldn't. I just don't see there being any advantage to it when there's a discovery deadline. There's not always a discovery deadline, set forth in a case, and this there was. And then we even had it in a legal filing that Nick McClelland claimed that, to the best of his knowledge, all of the discovery they had been turned over. I don't see there to be any advantage to him to lie about that.
Yeah.
But
other than losing credibility.
Exactly. That's what I'm like, I don't see there to be I don't see there to be a flip side for him to have withheld that. As far as like what the new discovery is, that's anybody's guess. That's, like you said, what do you feel about those apples or something like that? Well, we I can't give you my opinion on an apple unless I know what type of apple it is. And,
Macintosh.
And well, I mean, but with the discovery, we don't know what type of apple it is because we don't know what it is. And no one without access to the discovery at this point should know what it is. So anyone out there claiming that they know that, this is absolutely something Nick McClelland withheld, or that it's something absolutely new that came in after the fact, no one can make that claim unless they've seen discovery material that they should not have seen.
Well, not only that, but come on, like, when was it? October 19th? It was even before that, wasn't it? When basically the judge said, basically almost until the hearing had basically stepped down type of thing from the case. Then we went through the whole Supreme Court stuff. So of course, in that time, if they had discovery, it would have went over to the new lawyers as well. And so that just makes sense. I'm not into this game of I spy with my little eye. Do I see? I'm not into that whole stuff all the time. I'm sure that there's more discovery that came during that time for sure, and that they've handed it over now. And if new lawyers got some discovery, then they did, and then it will work its way back to the previous lawyers, Rosie and Baldwin. At the end of the day, I'd honestly have to give a shit that made that. I'm not going to, who cares?
Well, I mean, if you think about all of the information that became public in, September and October of this month, I mean, I'm completely speculating here, but it could be something as simple as, interviews or affidavits coming back that they hadn't had before. There could be test results from different things that just came in, but it also could be that, they might have started receiving new information after some of this stuff came out publicly. There might have been people that, even with the Odinist thing, I got laughed at earlier today when I suggested this. But I mean, even after the defense made those claims in that Frank's memorandum, I mean, if there was any avenue of that law enforcement had not pursued, I don't think anyone should criticize them if they then went and pursued it, and then one, either ruled out any connection, or two, found exculpatory evidence that maybe could benefit Richard Allen. We don't know what this discovery is, so I just don't think anyone can make a certain claim on it 100% either way at this point. But it could be anything.
Well, bottom line is still, it's like people want to make something out of everything when it comes to Delphi. And it's one of those things, either you believe it or you don't, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's all going to play out in court at some point, hopefully, unless there's some sort of plea deal that ever happens, but I don't think so.
Right.
I don't see that happening, but
Little Gambler says rotten now. Oh, Little Gambler, so you're probably talking to Charmaine. It's been years. It has been years, but it has not been years since new information has came out on the case. And when new information becomes public, it could trigger someone's memory or a connection that someone didn't think there was to this case prior. The
investigation is still very ongoing.
Right. As it should be, right?
They didn't know. You have to keep in mind that they didn't know about Rick Allen. They lost the tip, whatever, but they hadn't been investigating him for 7 years. They started investigating him in October of 2022. So that's not quick.
For September.
Yeah. And then Shelley, they wouldn't be able to present it right if it wasn't given to the defense. That's very true during trial. Everything has to be disclosed. They're not allowed to have surprises in trial. But we're not at that point yet. So yes, they had a discovery deadline, and that just meant whatever you have, hand it over by this date. But because the investigation's ongoing, they could still, and the defense too, that was their deadline as well.
Yeah.
So they could come up with more exculpatory evidence that they can still, submit. So it's very ongoing. This is not.
And even during court as well.
It's not uncommon that discovery continues to come in, which the prosecutors can't be held responsible for. I use the example of in the Alec Murdoch case, and this was one of the thoughts I had today about the Richard Allen thing is, it takes a long time for car data forensics to come back, especially when you're going back and trying to recover things from 7 years ago. With a car that's then been driven for 6 years. In the Alec Murdoch case, they were halfway through the trial and they finally got the car data forensics back.
Oh, my love.
So,
Thank you.
and I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm just saying that discovery coming into a case after or even during a trial is not uncommon.
No, gosh, no.
Look at what happened. This was a civil case, but in the Johnny Depp trial, someone that was watching the trial literally heard information that they had evidence on and then contacted one of the attorneys and then became a witness in the trial, all while it was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the guy that owned or the guy that ran the motel in the desert that they went and stayed at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that all happened during the trial because he'd been watching the trial.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, yeah. So
to me, this is nothing fishy. There's nothing going on here.
No.
I understand why they wanted to postpone that hearing. I understand it. To me, very valid points in all of it. I apologize, but I do not think that the defense is scared of anything right now. I think that this is all legitimate issues that need to be dealt with first, and we'll see. We'll see if Judge Gall takes any of it into account. Right.
Well, I don't think any attorney wants to get publicly blasted for something they don't think that they're responsible for, or something that they don't think that they did wrong. I think that's human nature to not want to have to put yourself out there publicly when I think they're prepared to defend themselves.
Yes. And that's the big thing, to give them enough time to, up until this motion to vacate But
Well,
that's what I saw it as. They need more time. They need to defend themselves.
So I'll be interested to see, because I don't see why she couldn't do this. I mean, if Rosie's gonna be out of town, of course, courtesy wise, give them another week, but separate the hearings.
Mhm.
If they need a little bit more, if they want to wait till Rosie's back in time for the contempt hearing, hold it separately. Throw it in with the disqualification if you want.
Yeah.
But as far as like the amended charges one, if they want to push that one off to the beginning of March, that's not going to affect the trial date.
It's not going to affect anything.
Right. So I mean, they could separate these hearings, and she could hold their feet to the fire for one of them, and she could push the other off, like they're asking, which to me sounds like probably a logical solution. But this is Delphi, so who knows if they're going to use logic?
Yeah. And we're still
Waiting for the opinion.
waiting for the opinion. So
And that's important.
so important.
That will be. Yeah. Okay. Let me just quickly read this one here. The motion to vacate hearing comes now the accused by counsel. The moves the court to vacate February 12th, 2024 hearing in support thereof. Counsel states the defense filed a verified motion to disqualify on January 28, 2024 at 10 p.m. 2, that the state filed a verified information for contemptuous. Is that it? Contemptuous?
Contemptuous, yes.
Contemptuous
Yes.
conduct on January 29, 2024, 4:34 p.m. And that pleading, the state requested that the court to issue a rule to show cause at a hearing and order Mr. Baldwin Rosie to appear and show cause. This has not been done. Additionally, upon filing for disqualification, the court has
Where are you?
the court was divested of jurisdiction to act in the case. Never even seen that word before. Of jurisdiction to act in the case on any matter other than the motion to change judge or emergency matters. See Wade versus Cass Circuit Court in Indiana. February 1st, 2024, the court set the state's request to amend charging information and allegation of contemptuous conduct for hearing on February 12th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Before the court takes any action on any motions, there should first be a hearing on the motion to disqualify. Wherefore, the accused respectfully prays the court to vacate the February 12th, 2024 hearing and schedule a hearing on the motion for disqualification and for all other relief just and proper in the premises. Respectfully, Andrew Baldwin. So, I mean, that's kind of like the whole thing that people have been saying is like, shouldn't be any of these motions until the disqualification ones dealt with first, basically.
We could wake up to that order tomorrow morning. I don't see any harm in scheduling these hearings without that order publicly out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, I flaked out on you a little bit there a few minutes ago. Wasn't one of these filings today, didn't that ask for like a special judge or something to?
In the one last week, I think in Rosie's it talked about a special judge. I'd have to go back and look.
I don't remember.
But not in these ones today. Sam Solas. This is what happens when I don't have enough time to read them for myself.
It may. I mean, I was reading, so I wasn't actually listening to myself. I was kidding.
That's exactly my problem too.
But and I don't know enough about the case examples that they used to gosh, sorry, I have a tickle in my throat to argue on whether or not like that's valid or not. But the whole that she hasn't ruled on the disqualification to me has not really been this huge like, oh my gosh, you can't schedule this stuff because she hasn't ruled on the disqualification. I mean, she can literally do that in a minute order if she wanted. Now they are saying they are like a hearing on it. So it'll be interesting to see whether she grants the hearing for the disqualification or if she just issues an order on it. But again, I want to see what the Supreme Court says before. I wanted to see what the Supreme Court said before I saw Rosie and Baldwin file to disqualify Gull. just like I want to see the Supreme Court order before I see Gull issue an order on the disqualification of Gull from Rosie and Baldwin.
Yeah. I mean, it's only fair,
I think
but
that's going to matter. I mean, I think the words they use are going to matter.
it's all that's going to matter. And the fact is, and this is something that I've also heard a lot of, that the Supreme Court ruled for Judge Gull to remain on the case. And no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. They denied the remainder of the relief.
Well,
so that doesn't mean that they said she's staying on the case. They're saying we're not going to remove her because basically, and I'll almost guarantee the opinion's going to say it, there's a lower court that deals with this, and that's what they're doing right now. And just like, just like with Gull and her decisions, I believe, even though the lawyers don't agree with me, I believe that opinion is going to say, now, if you want to disqualify the attorneys, you need to put it on the record. You need to have a formal hearing. You need to do it the proper way. So I think that that opinion is all that matters at this point. And all of this is just delays and hogwash, really.
Yeah.
Right. And the wording will give us a very strong indication of how they felt.
Yep. 100%.
Because
Absolutely.
the wording is, in the opinion is going to tell us whether they think Gull, whether there was validity to that or whether it was just to not deal with the other motions. But
right. And CJK, wouldn't you want a special judge? Would you want the judge that you're accusing of being biased deciding whether or not she's biased? I mean, I understand it. If we can somehow just sit on the fence for 2 minutes and think of it from the other side's perspective, I get it. I understand why they don't want Judge Gull deciding if she's biased against them or not. I mean, I get it. Somebody else should be looking in from the outside and making that call. Of course she doesn't think she's biased. Otherwise, she wouldn't be doing what she's been doing.
Well, and the same can be argued again. On what new grounds are they requesting this disqualification for Gull that the Supreme Court didn't already rule on?
I don't think that it's new grounds. They didn't rule on it. They just denied the relief. So the first filing that they made, they weren't the attorneys on the case. So she had that removed from the record. So they were just redoing. They were taking advantage of the mulligan the Supreme Court gave them. They did a do-over.
But I mean, in denying that they are saying that Gull gets to stay on the case, the same way that the attorneys get to get reinstated.
Exactly.
It's all going to matter in the wording of it, which is like why I said I wish that there hadn't been shots fired on either side from this until the Supreme Court opinion came out.
Right.
And people might not like that in Indiana that the judge themselves is the one that gets to rule on the bias, but that's the state law.
That's the way it works. Absolutely.
Fight to change the law if that's what you don't like.
And I mean, that is the process that they use. So in my opinion, that's what the Supreme Court did when they denied the rest of the relief. They said, go do this the right way. Same thing. I think that Judge Gull is going to have every right to remove those attorneys, but she's going to have to do it the right way. That's just my opinion. We'll see.
Same way. I think this entire motion to vacate the hearing, this is not something that's going to matter in this case. The hearing's not going to get vacated. Mm-hmm. It might get continued. It's not going to get vacated. This was to create a record that so that in the future, if this comes into an appellate situation, this is on the record.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Sorry,
I hope Travis didn't just hear me totally disagreeing with the lawyers there.
I've learned a lot about establishing a record from Travis.
Right, and I don't want him to think that I'm saying that he's wrong because I'm not.
But you're establishing a record for.
That's right. My opinion is slightly different than those of the well-known attorneys that we deal with. On both sides of the fence, like prosecution and defense people.
Well, I wish that opinion would just hurry up. That's all I wish.
My opinion? I'll tell you my opinion all day long.
But I check it every morning. I check it every morning, and I'm like, well, they issue a lot of opinions every morning. Hurry up.
Yeah. But how far back did you notice? How far back any of those dated?
Yeah.
Like
They're like September, but they're also like divorces.
Oh,
but still, is it showing like they're a few months behind, or is it a few
Oh yeah,
weeks?
they're like a lot of them are from like September,
Wow.
or October. But again, this is a much more high profile case, and one that I think the opinion's going to come. I mean, they don't normally order. They don't usually issue their order in 4 hours. So,
Yeah. And this
I-
one
I-
to me is very important because of the precedent that it's going to set, right? So it's going to be very detailed and very thoughtful, I think.
I hope.
Yeah. You hope.
It'll be like one line.
Yeah. I said what I said. I just can't. That's what it's going to say.
and there, you guys, Daisy's saying, yeah, I'll pray for my husband. He has a fever and tight chest tonight. I'm worried about him. I get it, Daisy. I'm going to go check on him. I get it. I hate it. Anytime that my husband is feeling any sort of pain or whatever, it's just like the wife mode always kicks in because, I cannot, like, it literally hurts my heart badly.
I hope it's just like the husband syndrome of like he has a paper cut.
No. It's tight chested.
No, you know what I mean, because men can. But no, I know
I know what you're saying.
I'll pray for him, Daisy.
Yes.
I get it because men are usually the biggest whiners whenever they're not feeling well.
The men, for sure.
Quite. Yeah. I mean, they are, honestly. They are. Sorry, guys. Here, guy. I'm sorry,
that's what I
not
was
sorry,
saying.
but it's true.
I did actually, Sunny, I got word from my daughter. They're letting her go and she's got to go back tomorrow. So
Okay.
I thought my daughter was going into early labor today, but
Yeah.
she's stable and going
Just
home
a
for the
couple
night.
months to go.
good.
Pretty much. Yeah. On there. But Daisy, yes. Prayers for your husband. And, well, like I said, fever and chest. It's too bad you guys don't have that what is it called that I always use? I always get it mixed up with
Benylin?
yeah, Benylin. Thank you. Because
Is
there's
that like a heart attack? I thought when you have a heart
Benadryl.
attack, I don't know, but is it like you get cold and chills, or is it a fever and tightness?
When you have what?
Is that one?
Like a heart attack, is it?
Oh, poor Daisy. Daisy, don't listen.
No. Mark had said it sounds like a heart attack, and I'm like, I don't think that does. I don't know. I've never had one.
Yeah,
I was like, it sounds like the C word, maybe.
It's probably body aches and a fever type of thing, and it's probably maybe it's a chest cold up there coming in. Who knows? I mean, there's so many things that happen when you're
But
sick.
Daisy, if you need anything, send me a message.
But aspirin is the way to go for that. Then.
Yes, aspirin.
Aspirin, yeah.
That's my sister.
Hey.
I said that's my sister. Aspirin.
Aspen or aspirin.
Aspirin.
Aspirin. Yeah,
Aspirin.
I get it. It's funny. Ha ha ha. Okay, so as for Delphi, other than that, is there any gossip that I don't listen to that I haven't listened to? Anything going on besides that?
I think that this has pretty much taken over the brainwaves of everybody.
Not mine.
Yeah.
No, me either. And I wish I was more versed in these last few filings, but honestly, to me, it doesn't. The only thing that matters to me is the Supreme Court opinion. So I haven't had time, but I haven't been paying attention.
Right.
Yeah. I just wish that they would stop, to be honest. And like, it's really like it just, I don't know. It just really feels like, I don't know, kids playing in a sandbox, with all this, I don't know. That's how it just comes off like a kindergarten fight to me in the sandbox.
Welcome to the legal system.
I mean, I get it, but it's just annoying. I'm sorry. This whole legal process stuff of all these motions, I can't stand it, really. It's like watching victims and get victimized all over by all these, freaking like look at freaking Coburger freaking thing.
Well, I was just gonna say, Coburger. I was thinking about this as an example. Someone had mentioned this earlier to me today.
I don't think so.
Ann Taylor, I guess, or said they got they got over 90. I can't remember how many tips in the month of January of 2024. In talking about discovery, and so I mean, like when it comes to their idea of there being new discovery being turned over to the defense, that that's not uncommon at all.
2025.
Right, but again, no one that's not under the gag order or protective order should have access to know what's in that discovery at this point. So if anyone claims that they do, ask them why.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And which side it came from. Do you know, I don't think there's been any more talk about being moved this last week.
Yeah.
That motion to
right?
transfer is still pending, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, but is it because they're not his attorneys? I assume it still is, even though they're not his attorneys anymore. But yeah, it's still pending.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Have you all discussed the mystery code on the amended charging docs?
No, but I did decipher the mystery code on Taylor Swift's website when it went down last night before she announced her new album. And I figured out that it meant red herring. And if when that's not a Taylor Swift fan, we all thought that Taylor Swift's Reputation was coming out last night, but instead she announced a brand new album at the Grammys. And so it tracked with the red herring thing. So I did figure out that. But anyway, I don't remember what your original question was.
I was something about some codes.
Yeah, never mind.
I did learn today Bob Motta's a Taylor Swift fan. Or, I don't know who runs their Twitter, but I saw on Twitter that
He does.
That
it's Bob.
That they're Swifties. So
I too am a closet Swiftie, I'm not gonna lie.
I don't claim I'm anything about Swift, besides that I like some of her music.
I feel her music lately. I feel it deep in my soul lately.
Do you?
I do.
Oh, that's worth a hallelujah. Can I get a name, man?
No. You're reading that wrong. You're reading that wrong.
I'm
Keep
not.
it moving. Anyways.
Wait.
So
Was that a joke? Did I miss a joke?
Well, if you don't listen to Taylor Swift, then you wouldn't get the joke anyways, so we can move on.
Just shake it off.
Barely, shake it off. Shake it off. Okay, I know that song.
It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Okay, so are we good with Delphi?
Yeah. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Does anyone have any last minute questions before we move on from Delphi?
Yeah, Ivy.
Because that 30 minutes turned into 46 pretty quick.
Well, no, I mean, we did talk about a few personal things at the start, like how you doing, all that stuff. Give out some memberships. Listen to Rick Astley.
Shelly?
Gail was making us sing the song The Drunk. Well, hey, what about Shelly?
I love you, Shelly. Don't come after Taylor Swift when I'm around.
Oh, Shelly, yeah.
You
and
can
I
love
like
whoever
the way we support each other. They're just a very perfectly beautiful couple.
Shelly, didn't you get yourself in shit the other day?
She said she's just. I know Shelly's just kidding. I know what she's saying. Wait, who said? SP74 said they asked a question above. Let me find it. SP. Oh, I look horrible. Have you all discussed the mystery code? Well, no, we talked about that. No, yeah, I don't know what the mystery code is. Yeah, that's what led me into the Taylor Swift thing.
What's the mystery code? Is it like the Cadbury secret that we haven't cracked?
I mean, I missed the mystery code. I don't know.
And I'm not seeing another question here.
Yeah, Travis is saying about 6 months to a year with motions and interlocutory appeals.
Oh, did you say interlocutory appeal? I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yes, I did. Shelly. Mm-hmm.
Bossy would like a quick Delphi update recap, please.
Wait, Travis says, how do you cancel culture Taylor Swift? I'm pretty sure it takes the atomic bomb.
Okay, who wants to do the quick update recap, and then we'll
Those are
move
all
on.
just white spaces to me. I don't know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, a quick for starting when.
Yeah.
I
It started in
mean,
2017, the end.
I mean,
So there's two
Brad
more.
Which
Rosie
reminds me, Adam, you were in Criminality's live chat. They were showing that video from 2017 of the floodwaters, the floodplain.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't in there very long. I left like right when she started that, so I don't know. I didn't get to watch all of it.
I was unable to connect the dots with that one. I didn't understand what we were getting at because this was
I
in
believe
July.
that people were talking in that, and I'll get to your question in a minute. I believe
Sorry,
that they were
Bossy.
talking about the fact they were talking about the bullet that was found between the girls, and
Okay.
people have been alluding to the fact or alleging that
Hmm.
the bullet could have ended up there in another way, and people have talked about. And I'm not saying that Teresa was saying this. I'm saying people have been saying that that have been pointing out that the crime scene where the girls were found is technically in a floodplain.
Right.
And so, depending on when the bullet was found, which it was found, that to my knowledge, it was found the day the girls were found.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that years ago. I have confirmation of it somewhere in my stuff, but it was basically saying that it's in a floodplain, and then someone sent her a video and she was showing at a point where Deer Creek had flooded, but it wasn't. But the point where she was showing wasn't even near the crime scene, which she said this is not the actual crime scene or anywhere near it. It's just somewhere on Deer Creek that's also in a floodplain.
And I feel like that is a Kagan size coincidence. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, but I don't. But I mean, but it's, I guess it's interesting to see. I guess for people that they don't know it.
Of course they do, because they want to make something out of nothing.
Right.
That's
well, they
why.
want to think. They want to think that, I don't know, the bullet, like, it just flooded there.
And it matches his markings on his revolver.
Anyways,
Right. So,
I'm sorry
yeah.
for interrupting you with
Oh
Bossy.
no. As far as a quick update on Delphi, I would say from last week, Brad Rosie filed a continuance.
Yes, Shelley.
For the hearing that's set on February 12th. This morning we got another continuance filed by Rosie and Baldwin on the amended charges aspect to the hearing and the contempt. And then they also filed a motion to vacate, which the motion to vacate to me is literally just them getting that on the record so that it's there if they ever need it for an appellate reason. But that's about it. Other than it just kind of being a pissing contest all the way around.
Yeah. Well, that was buried in a little dirt.
But I know Bossy knows everything that's going on in the case, so Bossy didn't need an actual update.
It's okay. My information: the bullet was buried in a little dirt and leaves it on, not actually in the ground, like some people. Well, I mean, if you look at, if you look at, well, I guess Ruckus's picture when he showed it and stuff like that, he was trying to show like that round thing was a bullet on his picture and stuff like that. Again, you know what? Take what you will. Take what you want. The proof will be in the pudding when it all comes out. I'm just not into this. Like, I mean, hey, if you want to think that it's some sort of, freaking tsunami happened and this big flood and just planted that bullet right there, and that's the new theory and stuff like that, so be it, whatever, right? Again, you guys, anyone can have their own opinion or thoughts about it. I'm just personally not into those type of
they probably dropped it from that helicopter when
far
they were
off
footage.
Yeah. It's just how ridiculous can we keep getting with this stuff? There's a point that you just are like, okay, come on, let's just wait for the evidence to show what's actually factual and not. Oh, there's Charmaine sneaking in some more
Before that goes off, I'll say really quickly, Bossy. Oh, the new evidence is just that in the motion to continue for continuance, Rosie and Baldwin in their file today said that they received voluminous new discovery, and they need a few weeks to review it, and that's one of the reasons they listed as why they need a continuance for the February 12th hearing.
Okay, let me just quickly go.
But what that evidence is, no one knows.
Bossy, look at that. Bossy got a gifted membership. Philip Bray, Canadian girl, and Zero Cool got one as well, and Little Gambler. So thanks to Charmaine. Charmaine just wants to listen to Rick Astley again. So be it. So be it if that's what we need to do right now.
If you watch the helicopter footage really closely and turn the contrast up, you can see the bullet falling.
Oh, wait.
Thank you, Ivy. I needed that.
Someone's parents. I'm going to desert you guys. See? Watch this. Boom. Now I'm one of you guys. Got 2 more to go, people. We'll wait them out. Thanks to Charmaine. Thank you, Charmaine. Even though you don't have to do that every single time, you pretty much do.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Hey, Adam.
Hey, yeah.
Actually, let's just end the live. I'm going to desert you all. You know what? Let's just go drinking instead. Oh, wait, Charmaine.
That sounds voluminous.
Yeah. Travis will drink for all of us. Take one for the team, Travis.
Voluminous.
Oh, look, and Travis even said it was to create a record. Hey, what did we say? We're not lawyers, but what did we say?
For the record.
And I know what we said, but I don't want to repeat it because I don't want Travis to think badly of me. I'm trying to be almost a lawyer.
Charmaine.
I think I'm at least a law clerk at this point.
Yeah.
Paralegal.
I think he already does. Charmaine, come on.
Paralegal.
Yeah. Travis
So-
needs a batch of eggnog. Yeah. Oh, don't even. I love eggnog.
Hey, I'll be right back, okay?
Oh, sure. We're not going to desert you, but you deserted us. Okay. All right, then.
I'm just gonna run out for milk.
I know what he's doing.
Cigarette?
Shh.
Should we just call him out on it? Okay. So
now I can't even go pee because you're gonna make people think I'm.
oh, so you were gonna go pee.
Yeah.
So the truth
So
comes
just
out.
say you gotta go,
Pee.
drain the lizard, feed the
Yeah.
fish, whatever.
Give the toilet a drink.
Feed the geese.
Yeah. Stroke the salami while you're in there. Don't even get me started.
Okay.
Anyway,
Vacate the hearing.
Yeah.
Vacate the hearing.
All right. Okay, you guys. So we're gonna go on to the Jennifer Crumbley. So we're gonna watch a little bit of this court TV. Now, this was prior to today. This was like yesterday, but I just want who's following actually.
What's a PFD? Hang on, Fibro. What is a PFD?
Prince of fucking Darkness?
Well, Princess.
Princess.
Of fucking Darkness. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to be Switzerland here, Fibro. I'm trying to be the voice of reason.
We're gonna have to like be like a true crime bitch or something like that. Like get your own little 3 syllables there. Yeah,
I don't want to be true crime anything, for being honest.
Adam, by the way, we hear you. Just saying. Okay. How many of you guys actually follow the Jennifer Crumbley trial or any part of it or whatever? Just say yes in chat if you do. If you don't, whatever, just say no. But I am going to put up a poll for this one because now when the trial, because it didn't have a verdict, I'm going to start a poll. Guilty verdict or not guilty verdict. This is a harsh one, I know. See verdict. And I'm going to put that on a poll. So just want. Okay. So yes, no, add option. Don't know. Add option 2. Don't care. There we go. Start poll. Okay. So you guys go vote on that poll there. What you think about Jennifer Crumbley? Will she be found not guilty or guilty? Basically, I guess it's manslaughter, right?
I can't remember what her charges are.
Manslaughter.
I have so many thoughts and no real opinions. It's troubling. It is.
Well, well, that's like I said. We're gonna listen to a little bit of court TV here, and actually, Adam, he can go pee all he wants. Well, I'm just gonna hit play to this, just from well, you know what? We'll listen to a little bit of the prosecutor as well, I suppose, eh?
To prove that Jennifer Crumbley is guilty of 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. The burden is high. I told you that during jury selection, but we embrace it. And I believe that we have met that burden. It wasn't even an hour. We were an hour after the shooting took place. She's on her cell phone. She's looking to see if it's on the news, she said. We also know that there were deleted messages. We don't know when she deleted them, but we know there were messages deleted after the time of the shooting, from the time that the phones were seized later that night. He asked about the gun, and you heard what she said, what they both said. It was hidden. It was hidden. She read the text message. Oh, he said he loved me. And she reads the text message. And then she said, I texted him, I love you back. It was 49 minutes later that she texted, I love you back. And it was after she already knew that he was the shooter. She doesn't say what the text after that is.
Oh, okay. But
She leaves that out.
I guess I should have probably did that first, eh? Okay, so this case is basically about parents that had the school shooting in Oklahoma, that the parents had given their son, who they're saying, had, mental health issues going on. And the parents had gifted him a gun for Christmas, but they gave it to him early for going to the gun range, type of thing. And so on this one particular morning, on this one particular morning, the parents were at school. Charmaine, that's the part that I'm unclear of. So the parents went to school in the morning, and that's the same day of the shooting that happened. And the parents, what was just because I'm having a brain fart right now, what happened that morning?
Did he?
Because he had a note that said, help me.
Yes, and I think the note that said help me was the day before, and I think she was called to the school for a meeting, I want to say.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know why, but I'm having a big brain fart on that. It's like I listened to it like a few times. But
Yeah.
bottom line is the parents are like, whatever, is like, no, like we're not taking you home type of idea. And then, sorry, you guys, if I'm giving a really shitty explanation on that part of it. And so that day, he comes, gets his gun. It's in his backpack, of course, and then he takes the lives of 4 of the students that are there. And so really what's happening here is that obviously Ethan, which is the son's name, Ethan Crumbley, he's the teen that shot those 4 victims. But basically what they're trying to say about the parents is that it was because of the negligence of the parents that they need to be accountable for what has happened and transpired. So kind of like what Alexa says, or even just in general, this will be a case precedent of if depending on really I guess if she's found guilty or not guilty, but about parent accountability.
Right. They're the first parents in the U.S. to be charged with
Right.
Right.
the mass shooting of their child.
Right. So, and there have been other charges brought against other school shooters' parents, but it was more for improper storage of a firearm and stuff like that. But this is
Right.
the first one where they're actually being charged with manslaughter or whatever it is
Mm.
in relation to those deaths. So,
Yeah. Right. And so basically, during the trial, different things about all the money spent on horses, about the affairs that Jennifer, has had, and basically saying that, it's like she's not caring about her son and his issues, but she's caring about all this other stuff.
and she
And
was
then,
busy too. She was having, I don't know if you want to get into this, but she was having an affair at the time.
The
There's,
firefighter.
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say we'll watch this and then we'll get back into this talking part here. Taser. But
But
anyway,
this is very important though too, right? Because it's a huge conversation to be had, but it'll be very interesting to see what a jury comes back with, because I mean, even in my own mind, I'm so split on that. So,
I'm split as well, actually.
Yeah.
But that's why I said so. We'll watch this, and then you're going to hear the arguments of Johnny Depp's lawyer there, whatever his name is again, and a couple others, and then like I said, we'll talk about it after that. But anyways, the gist of the case is that yes, this is they're trying to have this trial to put some accountability on the parents here, saying that about basically not doing their due diligence, neglect, not paying attention to all the signs and stuff like that. But anyways, we'll play it out somewhat here.
But at what
That
point-
is, Ethan, don't do it. She doesn't say, well, we were at the school, but he was also caught searching bullets the night before. She doesn't say that, and I told him, don't worry about it, just don't get caught. She doesn't say that they had just purchased the weapon and it's not secure. What do they say? The very first time they are asked about what Jennifer Crumbley's asked, where was this gun? The very first time, what does she say? It was hidden. She does not say there was any lock of the mechanism at all, and neither does James. It was hidden. You're at the police station. Your son's in the next room. You know the murder weapon was the weapon you just purchased for him. And when you're asked where it was, you say it was hidden. Not 3 hours after her son shot and killed 4 people, and he's already in custody, and it's already clear that he is probably never, ever, ever going to be out of prison for the rest of his life. She's texting, don't judge me based on what he did. I need my job. Her explanation for that, she was in planning mode. Those words on that paper helped me. She walked out of that school within 11 minutes, didn't so much even address her son. She did not give him the help that he wanted. And you can argue about the months before and the weeks before, but if you just even look at what happened that day, she walked out of that school and she knew something bad might happen. What does she do when she gets back to work? She all of a sudden texts her son, are you okay? You can talk to us. These are the actions of somebody who was worried. She was worried and she was concerned and she was panicked until after. And then it's a different story. Why? Because she knew she had done something wrong.
As the prosecutor finished, she said, this is shocking, unthinkable. I believe there were other words used throughout trial. Unbelievable. Obviously unbelievable, unthinkable, unfathomable. And the reason that's the case is because it was unforeseeable. No one expected this. No one could have expected this, including Mrs. Crumbley. With my kids, I don't monitor assignments. I don't look at their phones. I have no reason to. My son plays a lot of video games. My son's online talking to a bunch of people as he's playing a lot of video games. Even though he has a cell phone, I don't go through it and look at his messages every day. And as he gets older, I do know he's interested in girls. If he starts receiving nude pictures of a girl on the cell phone I own but let him use and gave him for his birthday when he turned 11, should I be held accountable for receiving child pornography if a girl sexts him over some inappropriate pictures? If my son decides he's going to send some pictures back and takes a nude picture of his bits and pieces, that's a 20-year felony. Am I then responsible because he sent a picture of his penis over to some girl? So not only taking the picture, a 20-year felony, but then we've got a 7-year felony for sending it over. Can every parent really be responsible for everything their children do? Especially when it's not foreseeable. And this clearly was not foreseeable to Mrs. Crumbley, because there's no one in the world, including Mrs. Crumbley, who would have let a school shooting happen and let what happened on November 30th take place. Not only ruining the lives of so many families and victims and taking the lives of 4 young people, but also ruining her own son's life and ripping his life right from her as well. She would be the first person on the planet who would have never let that happen in a million years. I do wish more than anything, this case could bring justice to the victims of the shooting, the victims of the terrorism that took place that day, and the victims of their families. I wish more than anything, it really could be a result that would be a Band-Aid to make everyone feel better, but it can't be. First of all, it brings back nothing for the people who have lost. It certainly doesn't bring back any lives. And if anything, this is not justice. This is not how justice works.
This is a tough case. I've been saying it all along. It's a difficult case for prosecutors. It's unprecedented. And there's a bunch of people involved here. It's not just Jennifer Crumbley, but she's the only one on trial right now. So let's bring our think tank, see what they have to say tonight. Joining us in New York City, former senior homicide prosecutor, founder of Villalona Law, Bernarda Villalona. Also joining us in San Diego, California, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Brian Watkins. And in Washington, D.C., the attorney who represented Johnny Depp in his defamation case and fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ben Chu. Okay, Bernarda, your thoughts here. Foreseeability, gross negligence, etc. The facts are tough. This not great parenting taking place here, not great counseling in the school taking place here. What are your thoughts as we sit here tonight and the jury's going to be coming back on Monday to start deliberating?
This is a difficult case. This is a difficult case for those jurors, for those 12 jurors that are going to have to reach a verdict. Because, Vinny, I think this is a case where they're not just going to focus on what happened inside of the courtroom, what evidence was presented inside of the courtroom. I truly believe that these jurors know that their decision is one that's going to be heard across the country because it is a case that is unprecedented. And also to know that they are part of that same community where those 4 children were killed. So they know that their decision is going to be one that's going to be talked about for years to come. And they know that they're talking about 4 kids that were killed, but also how much liability do we put on the parent, especially when the parents are the ones that provided the firearm. So I think this is going to be tough, Vinny. I don't know where it's going to fall. You may end up with a mistrial, a hung jury in this case.
Brian Watkins, murder cases, it's a little more black and white, right? You either committed the murder or you didn't. Here we're delving into the world of foreseeability, gross negligence, actions, inactions, liability is kind of seeped into all of this, which is a lot closer to Ben's civil world that he lives in. So what are your thoughts here, Brian, as this we heard the closing arguments and the jury's got to make a very difficult decision here?
We're talking about policing parenting. That is huge. Are we going to go into the south side of Chicago and start rounding up parents because they have such a gang problem? Teenagers are being shot all the time. You knew your kid was a gangbanger. You saw the bandana in his room. You saw his clothing that he wore. You saw his friends that he hung out with. Are we going to start rounding them up and putting them in jail? Policing parenting, that is tough. And the bottom line here is, to see, never would you imagine, even if the signs are there, as a parent, you're sort of blind because you would never imagine your child doing something so outrageous as a school shooting. I mean, as a parent, you're required pretty much to never think that your child will do something so crazy. This isn't a school fight. This isn't, taking a gun and shooting one boy that beat him up. I mean, this is a random school shooting of innocent kids. No parent is ever going to say that their child would ever have the capability of doing that. That's, it's tough. And I don't know that we can police parenting. It's tough. And, the evidence that they have are text messages. And the problem with text message evidence is that there's no tone to the text message. The prosecutor reads his own tone and his own inflection into the messages. And we don't know what's really behind the messages. We don't know what phone calls and what was said verbally that accompany the text messages. So it's a tough case for the prosecution, and I got a real problem with policing parenting.
That's a great point you bring up about, gangbangers, right? If you know your child's in a gang, do you now have a responsibility to do something? That takes it to a whole different place. Now that takes it out of the realm of the school shooting issue, but it seemingly would apply to that situation, that standard. Ben Chu, you live in this world of civil liability, and the standards and things we're talking about here, gross negligence and foreseeability, are not that common in the criminal context, but that's what this case is about. What are your thoughts tonight?
Well, Vinny, I may be in the minority here tonight. They say bad facts make bad law, and these facts are horrific. And I think the prosecution did a really good job of getting in facts that really make the defendant look awful. The affair, saying that her son had never sought help when we saw that he did. Just a lot of things. The obsession with the horses and spending all this money on horses, sending 14 messages after the incident before she even mentioned her son. I think the totality of circumstances is going to be such that the jury will find her guilty. And I do think that it's a dangerous precedent. I do think there's a slippery slope here, but I think the facts are all there for the jury to find her responsible.
Yeah, and that may be why this is the case that becomes the first one, because of the particular facts associated here. All right, everyone staying with us the whole hour. Up next.
Did Jennifer and James Crumbley attempt to flee from justice after they were indicted? Tonight, we take a closer look at where they were and who they were talking to.
Yeah, that's going to become a wash on that one, I believe. 1 second here.
So,
okay.
I think Chad has got some excellent, it's not even debate, but just differing sides of opinions, and
but they're all valid and great.
So great. But I'm right down the middle, because my first thought is, how many people have raised their kids and thankfully nothing like this has happened, but for me and my daughters, as my daughters got older and they were into adulthood, and we'd be sitting around family dinners, whatever, and they'd start telling stories about stuff that they did that I had no idea about.
Yeah, right.
Granted, they weren't mentally disturbed, they didn't have any serious issues that I had to be, watchful for, and no guns in the house and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, a really great example is, until we recorded our Delphi podcast episode, I had no idea there was even a bridge like that in Fox Creek, honestly. And my daughter said on the podcast that they used to go to this bridge, and it blew my mind. But I had no idea. It's not something that me as a parent, I didn't, you know what I mean? We just don't know. And some of the other stories that I've heard from my kids just blew my mind, but nothing like this, obviously. But where's the you know, how do you keep such close tabs on your children? This aside, he has mental illness that should have been dealt with. There's a lot of stuff here. But as a whole, the precedent that this is setting, I think, is very dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? At the same time, this case is different. This has to set a specific precedent. In a situation like this with a child with those particular issues and those sequence of events, I don't know, guys. I think she should be held accountable, at least. He was schizophrenic. He cried out for help. He was obsessed with guns. Like, what? He left a note. What more do you need? She was too busy having her affair. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Adam, don't you kind of wonder though about the 6-year-old that went to school with a gun in his backpack, and the parents were negligent and left the gun out for a 6-year-old to take to school, and he was a problematic child, and the school never even checked his backpack. But anyways, he shot the teacher's hand there. Good thing she didn't die, and he could have taken more lives. And were his parents held accountable? There was talk about if there was charges going to come against the parents.
I'm not sure what charges were brought, I think, against the mom. I can't remember what.
You know, well, obviously it would have happened, really, like, meaning like this case. Like, it just...
It might just not have gone to court yet.
But
I think charges were brought. I'm just not sure what they were.
Well, I was going to say, like I said, I mean, obviously if this is a precedent case,
right.
But it's one of those things. Is like, I mean, to me, I felt in that case that the parents, they left out a gun. A 6-year-old was able to obtain that gun and take it to school and shoot a teacher. Thank goodness she lived. And, you know, so something like that to me is grossly negligent. Grossly. Where the parents, to me, should be held accountable because they left a gun out for a 6-year-old to get their hands on. In this case, let me just say, in this case, I know every situation's different. And I'm kind of 50-50 on it because I believe in accountability. But I also but it's not like these parents went, yeah, you know, like no parent ever thinks that their child is going to go to school and shoot up. There's lots of kids out there that have mental health issues going on and stuff like that. And this case, of course, is being brought to the forefront because there's charges laid against. I'm torn. I think that there's going to be a hung jury myself. But I'm torn as a parent because it's kind of like, absolutely, like, is there negligence on the parents' part here? And so I'm not taking, say, adequate steps that you should, of course, you know, provide to your children if you know that they're having mental health issues, you know, like a crying out for help, and then you don't do anything to stop that, and then something like this happens. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. This is not a jury that I envy anyone to be on. I think it very well could come back as a hung jury. I think it's either going to be guilty or a hung jury. That's my personal opinion. I think that there should be accountability, but I think it's really unfortunate. I think this is going to be a very precedent-setting case. I'm the only American on the panel right now, and I know what a big deal like guns are in the U.S. But for this to be the case that sets precedent, I really think it's a really poor, bad example of a case to set precedent, because I think it's a specific case where there are very clear signs of negligence and culpability, even with accessibility and things like that, that were provided by the parents in this case that are not going to apply to every case. My mind always goes back to I believe it was Dylan's mom in Columbine.
Yes.
And for anyone that has not watched her TED Talk or her speeches on not being aware of the things that she later realizes that she should have been aware of, but the fact that she had no idea of, to me, show that, a parent doesn't always know what their teenage son or daughter is thinking, or, well, no parent knows what their teenage daughter or son are thinking. But especially when they have a mental issue or they get fixated on something like this and they decide to go to school and shoot up their classmates. This, I think, is an extreme example of a scenario where the parents should have had all of the signs that they needed to have done something to be a parent, and they didn't. I
And
feel like
given
they
the fact
failed their.
what the culture is in the United States right now,
I'm sorry.
the culture in the United States right now, like how many school shootings have you guys had so far this year? Even?
Right, and that's why I don't think this is a good example to set precedent for it, because I think this is an example of a case where these parents were given every red flag they needed to have, and they neglected their child and their community. And if I feel like they should be held responsible for something, but I don't think that should then extend to every parent of a teenager or a child that goes and does the same thing, because I do think it's a very individual thing to happen when it comes to
the
what led
extreme
them.
more so.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was thinking too. Like this is the perfect case to prosecute, but not to set a precedent.
It's not. It's a horrible case to set a precedent to, I think.
Agreed.
Locked
him in a box.
I think these parents. I think these parents are. I mean, their lives are ruined too. Their lives are destroyed. But you know what? But I think they're shit ass parents. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think they failed their child, and I think they failed their community.
Absolutely. When I knew that my son was going through issues in school, and this is after the divorce, and I was living in a different place, like a home, and the ex-husband and Matthew wanted to stay, at home, have his room, and everything. And I wanted to, of course. My son was not a very social person, really. Like he played with kids, and we did all that stuff when we lived back over here. But he I always was a little bit worried about him, more about the side than anything, just because, a lot of kids, they get at a certain age when they start hitting their little puberty times and stuff like that. But when we had divorced and I knew that my son was having these anger issues, like obviously there was anger issues going on. I called up the school and I said, look, this is what's going on with my son. But they couldn't force him to go into counseling because of his age, even though he was like 16, I believe it was. But they couldn't force him to take counseling. And so here the ex-husband, and like I said, as a mother, like for me, like I'm the total opposite of these parents. First and foremost, you would never ever see me neglecting my son or looking out for signs. And clearly I saw signs after the divorce of these absolute anger issues going on. So I took it upon myself to reach out to the school because I was worried, I was worried that his anger, whether he became suicidal or anything. And he ended up seeing the counselor a few times. And then you had the ex-husband who said, right, get a load of this shit, right? Who told him, you don't need that shit. You don't need counseling, blah, blah, blah. Everything I tried to do proactively as a parent, he was there to always undermine to the other side.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I get angry, I don't give a F about the ex. I give a F about what he was doing to our child.
Right.
So here I am trying to sit there, like I said, as a loving, caring mother, say, look, I see issues going on. Obviously you need to talk to someone. I've done that many times throughout even this whole 10 years that he's been pretty much non-existent in my life, because he's still living underneath his father's wing. But to have another parent sit there and say, you don't need help, you don't need counseling and stuff like that, it's so despicable to me. And so when it comes to, like I said, this case here, absolutely the parents were not there for their child. And this child obviously did have signs. He did have, I mean, like I said, there was this note that said, help me, a clear cry for help. Mother's too busy having affairs, like I said, not doing it. So it's,
Right.
it's one of those things like, uh,
It's
I'm
just
very torn.
it's a horrible case to set a precedent because,
Yeah.
like Lone Pony said, if they get convicted, there's going to be a lot of cases then where there's precedent for parents to get convicted of similar things, even if the elements that go into the situation that takes place aren't the same. I feel like these parents deserve to be held accountable for the actions of their son. I don't think that should be a precedent setting case, but it is what it is. It's a precedent setting case. And I like what Daisy was saying is the school failed this child as well. And
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not advocating, or I'm not, I can't think of the word. I'm not absolving Ethan of the actions he took that day, but he was a child with mental health issues, and he went into that school and did something horrific, and everyone around him failed him. But these parents provided an environment for him to get to the point where he was able to take that gun and do it. And that is, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't have guns in their home. Have guns in your home. These parents, this is a very specific scenario where I just, like I said, I just hate that this is a precedent setting case, because I think it's going to unfairly impact people in the future. Even though I think these two pieces of shit on the screen deserve the charges that they've been brought against. But again, I don't envy this jury. I think it could be a hung jury very easily. And we'll just have to wait and see.
So
Well-
they had a really good statement, and then
Who did?
Lone Pony, he said there will be a lot of parents in prison if this sets a standard. I agree. It's a unique case with many opinions. I just fear what it means for the future situations. Absolutely. Daisy and Ivy have been kind of going back and forth, and I didn't know that stuff. So go 2 down from the one that you're on right now. That's crazy. Like, is that real?
She texted him, you're right, don't do it. Testified she thought
Yeah.
he was going to hurt himself.
That's why she texted him after she heard about the shooting.
This was after.
She
Yeah.
said, "Are you okay?" Because she, but
This, like,
the specific actions of these parents show that they knew that something could be happening. And again, the school didn't check his backpack. The school failed him too, but the school is not his legal guardian. These parents are the ones that are responsible they're responsible for their part in what he did.
And in my line of work, when we're looking at liability and responsibility and accountability in court, it's, would a reasonable person expect the outcome, or to
I don't think they're reasonable people.
and that's the point. Most reasonable people, I think, would deduce from their son's behavior, particularly if those text messages are real and the note the day before, would a reasonable person have enough suspicion to step in? And I think the answer is yes. And unfortunately, that makes them guilty as charged, right?
Right.
I think.
I agree. But that's why I think it's such a horrible example for a precedent setting case.
Yeah.
Because not every parent should be held to that standard.
right. Yeah.
Because the circumstances leading up to it are not going to be the same for the other kids. The other parents are not going to have all of the information that these parents had before their child makes that action, before that child takes that action.
Yeah. Let's see here. Just let me
In
look.
my opinion. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't worry about it. It will never stand up for various. Let's go to the poll for a second. So it simply was guilty verdict or not guilty verdict. Yes, 42% say guilty. No, 19%. don't know, say 30%, and 7% said don't care on there. Now, I'm not going to get into this, but Charmaine, are you kind of glad for our gun laws a little bit over here on there?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I've said it for years. I mean, I remember when Columbine happened, and I mean, it was shocking that just the state of the. I would be afraid to send my children to school in the United States nowadays.
Honestly,
and that was 25 years ago.
like,
Yeah.
well, like how many times do we
There
hear?
were hundreds last year, hundreds, and most of them got no media coverage.
It's just crazy to me.
It's mind-boggling, and I never had a problem with. Don't come at me because I'm not a gun person, but I never had a problem with gun control or your right to bear arms. I don't care either way as long as they're doing it responsibly. But when you throw mental health issues into the mix, you can't fix one without dealing with the other, in my opinion.
Yeah. The thing is that it's always fun and games until someone gets hurt. In a sense, that's what this reminds me of. They didn't take it seriously. They didn't provide the necessary help for their son that he obviously needed. And then only when something like this happens, then it's like, almost like a big shocker to them, and it's just kind of like, do you know what I mean? The parents that actually, you can't monitor everything. You just can't. Okay. It's ridiculous.
For anyone that, if you ever want to like have like the most interesting perspective on this, you can go and watch. I believe it was Dylan's mom from Columbine. They're all over YouTube. She's done interviews. She's done panels. She did a TED Talk on what it's like to be the mother of a mass shooting teenager. Dylan Klebold. I think it's Dylan Klebold's mother.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
But it's an incredibly fascinating perspective from her, from what she went through, at least.
Yeah.
Not every case is the same, of course, and that was 25 years ago. But it gave me a very I feel like more of a balanced perspective on what it feels like to not even be in that case. Her child took his own life after committing a horrible act, and so then she went through this whole period of not even being able to feel like she could mourn her child because of the actions he took that day. And that adds another layer to it, where Ethan's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. And like I said, and my heart breaks for these parents. I still think they're pieces of shit, but my heart breaks for them. Because I think that they could have prevented this. I don't think Dylan's mom could have prevented what he did.
I can't say my heart really overly breaks for them.
It doesn't matter what your child does. I don't have children, but you both do. But if your child does something that's horrific, and then they're taken from you for the rest of their lives, you're not going to stop loving them.
No.
But your heart's going to break for them. And that's why that's why I'm saying my heart breaks for the fact that they've lost their child too.
Of course. Yes.
It depends, I think, on the family dynamic, because let's not forget, I believe this boy was adopted, and I'm not saying anything against adoption, whatever, but in my
was he adopted? I didn't know that.
Case, I know that when my brother did what he did, my mom had the ability to consider him dead, and he is the person we do not speak of, and have not since the day he pled guilty. I mean,
But that doesn't mean her heart's not broken.
Ariel says he wasn't adopted.
Fair enough. Oh, well, when I was watching, what's her name, Sunny Slaughter on
Sunny Slaughter
Defense Diaries, I'm pretty sure she said that he was adopted. So I don't know.
Oh, was she on the Defense Diaries?
She was, talking about this case.
Wasn't adopted, Ariel says. Ethan.
Maybe I misheard. I don't know, but
I didn't think he was.
I don't think he is. I'm pretty sure that the children are their children. Yeah. Let's see, Charles. I didn't install a metal detector on the front door. I hate ending up in the news and all. Ariel, my first clue would be them begging for mental health
And
care.
him begging for it too. But
Yeah, and Mark simply put, you cannot own a firearm until you're 18 years old here.
Same.
And if you are under 18, you have to be with an adult. You have to be supervised with an adult. Like we would take Matthew. Like I'm not into guns whatsoever myself, but my ex-husband was a hunter. So, he would have his guns. And of course, he made sure that Matthew knew exactly how a gun is handled. But of course, it being separate from the bullets and locked in this, the bullets are locked over here, this and that. Like he was very diligent about that, because he's a responsible gun owner, teaching Matthew that. Matthew, I don't think so really into guns and hunting, really. He was just doing it more so because his dad, like that's his dad's thing. But I know that I could tell he didn't, like when he shot his first deer, okay, but it's more like he was just trying to make his dad proud of him. But anyways, that's pretty much how it is. To own a gun out here, like I said, you don't just walk around with a gun out here. It's not the same. Our laws are way different than your guys' laws over there. Population is way different. So like I said, I like our gun laws here myself. Like I like the fact of how, like, again, you have to go through a hoopla to get a gun here. But I don't know all your guys.
One thing we do not. Do you know one thing that we do not do nearly as often in America as you do?
What?
We very rarely tap maple trees.
That's
You know what? We don't have maple trees in Alberta. I think you guys have maple trees in BC, but they're not the same. You need to go to Quebec to make that joke there.
Did you like my way to deflect from the?
I was just about to say that was a deflection. Yeah, because we're not going to get into the gun law stuff and stuff. Like everyone has their opinions. It gets into politics, guns, religion.
But I would like to see a tutorial sometime on tapping a maple tree.
Well, but the bottom line is there needs to be something done. Like, meaning these shootings are happening so frequently in the United States. Something does need to be done, but what is that exactly? Because with the internet, and people copycatting, and that's really what all this reminds me of from when it kind of first happened, like Columbine. I'm not sure if there's one before that, but whatever. But it's just like it's become like this new fad. Like, let's just go to a school and shoot it up. Like that's the thing to do.
In the United States, but I mean, in Canada is not perfect either. Our population is so much smaller, and our gun laws are a lot stricter. So kids aren't going to school with guns here. But what they are doing, you hear about school stabbings and beatings and or not even like shopping mall shootings and stuff. They're driving vans through crowds of people. If these people who have mental illness have that, if they're going to do something, if they need to hurt people, or if they want to hurt people, they're going to find a way to do it.
Again, and that can be said for anyone. It doesn't matter, kid, adult, whatever. And I heard that argument made about this case, which I found interesting. Someone had asked me about if his parents had bought him a car and he took it and drove through a crowd of people, should they then be held responsible for manslaughter?
Mm-hmm.
Which, that goes straight into the whole gun control thing, which I'm like, I'm not touching that.
Yeah,
but
hi, how are you? Good evening.
Hi, Alexa.
To me, the difference is, if they bought him a car that's not street legal, then absolutely they should be held accountable for it. And in this case, I'm like that. This wasn't a firearm that a child should have, regardless of what country you're in.
Wasn't it like a 6? What was it? Because it looked like a 6-hour type of gun.
Right. It was not your normal AR like 15, but again, I don't think that every parent who has a child that goes and does this should be held accountable for what their child did. I think in this case, these parents should be.
If
What
they're
about-
found, go ahead.
What about like Adam Lanza? Like his mom took him to the shooting range, and he was clearly. Do you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's a. I agree, it's such a dangerous precedent, but I think if, I think we're all going to be surprised and shocked if they start digging into the parents, how many times that there were signs and red flags that maybe should have been seen.
Well, and then where does that line stand?
Yeah, exactly. This
as
is
far as-
so scary.
Well,
Because what's a red flag? You not knowing your kid ordered a gun online and lied about their age, or or he's like, it's like where does
But
that?
I mean,
line
I'm sorry to interrupt here, Adam, and
Yeah,
hello.
please do,
First of
Alexa.
all, I mean, as a parent, I mean, I'm even going to put my camera. Sorry, I apologize. I was, ready to go to bed. As a parent, you should know. Until your kids are 18, you are responsible. Therefore, you have to know everything that goes on. That whole BS and bullshit, excuse my language, of, oh, your kids need privacy. No, they don't need privacy. Privacy when they're showering, I give them that. But anything that comes to my house, I need to know because I am responsible. And if you see all of those shootings, school shootings, they all have one common denominator: kids that are troubled. And as a parent, you have to know the warning signs. If my child is depressed, don't encourage him to take him to a shooting range. Shooting range, it's not rage. I'm the rage. To a shooting range. Like, why? Don't buy him you knew this child was suffering from years. This is not something that happened last month. And you take him and you give him a present, you buy him a gun as a Christmas gift. I mean, like, where's I think the mom was too busy in her own life. And I think this is, if you see the statistics of most of the kids that have done the shootings, they all have problems, psychological problems. Most of them, 90%, they have been bullied, and the parents are not around.
Right.
And that's a
I agree
recipe
with
for
you, Alexa.
disaster.
I agree with you. Like I said, I just don't think that every parent needs to be held to the standards that these parents are going to be held to. Because I think these parents, I just don't think it's a good precedent-setting case.
But the standard that they're going to be held to is just a normal common sense standard for the majority of parents out there, I think. Do you know what I mean? So
Is
in
it?
this case, even though it's going to set a dangerous precedent, if parents are parenting, hopefully it won't negatively impact.
Well, I agree with that.
So
I worry
agree.
because I see. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that I think what you're talking about is the exceptions. Like right now, if my kids do anything, they could say they were older, they take the car and they kill somebody. The one person that they're going to sue, they're not going to sue them because they don't have anything. They're going to turn around and sue me. So, that's why a lot of parents have to have umbrella, policies to protect themselves and that. But I mean, anything else, I am the one responsible. Anything my kids do right now, I am responsible. The day they turn 18, I will not be responsible anymore.
I was at a friend's house one time when I was 12, 11. I drove their golf cart off of a bridge, and it flipped over and totaled the golf cart with like 4 people inside. And everyone was fine. But but I remember like my and my parents, like, they took care of it, but they were like, we're gonna get sued. We're gonna get sued.
No, but that was an accident. Were you drunk?
Well, no, I was 11 or 12.
Yeah, so then it was an accident. You know what I mean? There are things that happen as an accident, and
I
of
probably
course
should have
not.
been driving
And
the
there are
golf cart.
things that your kids will put themselves in danger, and they know it's bad, and they will still do it.
Travis,
So
my thing is here. Let's say that my son went to a school and did this exact same thing, and they looked at my history, and they saw the fact that I was trying to get my son help. That I didn't show, that I showed that I was a good, decent parent, just trying to parent my son the best way that I could. I look for those. Okay, grant type of thing. These aren't the case we're talking about. parents that absolutely grossly are negligent to their kids in a sense, and they're not like that. There's the signs, and they go back and look at their history, and they see basically what shit parents they are, like these two parents that are before you here. You know, to me, that's where I deem it totally different than if someone's trying to do their best as a parent. You know what I mean? They look at their history behind them, behind the parent, what's gone on. You know, have they, like I said, tried to seek help for mental issues, or if they just so ignored it, too busy worrying about affairs, too busy doing this. Do I think that that parent should be held accountable?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I do. So that's kind of where I'm torn here because as a parent, I know we don't know everything, but kind of going back to what Alexa says here is like, yeah, like basically our children are our responsibilities. It's not the schools. If the school brings
Agreed.
attention to you that there's issues going on with your child and you don't do anything about that or try to make changes or whatever it is that you need to do. So obviously if a school is bringing is it the school's responsibility to babysit your fucking children? Absolutely not.
Just like I think it was like that. What's his name's mom? I think I felt like the charges brought against her were warranted when she knew what her son did, and she was like, "Can I wash your clothes for you?"
Aiden Fucci, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. She knew the police had just left, and she washed his jeans. She knew.
Right. That wasn't a mass shooting,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I feel like it's a similar circumstance of this was someone that knew what was happening and didn't do anything to stop it, and then went as far to like
Mm-hmm.
try to save their own asses, basically.
Mhm.
But
Right, exactly. Right. Clearly selfish on the fact that this is her child. She doesn't want to see him going whatever. But you know what? You broke the law. You tried to cover up for your own kid.
right, you fucked around, and now you got to find out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's kind of one of those things. Like I said, this, obviously, it's one of, there's so many instances, kind of like what they were talking about in the court TV. Well, it's like, well, if your son's a gangbanger and he kind of has a gun, or that should everyone be held accountable and stuff like that? Well, let me put it this way again. Your children are your responsibility up until they are deemed as an adult. So yeah, if you just sat around at home and you dang right knew that your kid was in gangs and all this stuff, showed every single sign of it, knowing full well that, with gangs, it's usually guns and this and that, drugs and whatever. Again, if you're showing those signs, if you go look back and have that, evidence to show, like, look, this parent didn't do shit all to try to even, stop their children at all. And yeah, obviously you don't give a gun. Not that would have stopped the gun. I mean, he hid the gun. What is hiding the gun?
No, he might have just shot. He might have just shot them and then gone to school and done it. But
Yeah.
But if you are clearly negligent of being a parent, and it's your responsibility to take care of your own effing children, it's nobody else's responsibility besides your own to make sure that you are aware. And you can't. But like I said, I was always a proactive parent. So to me, it's kind of like I would think that I try to do my best, but something like that, again, you can't predict everything your child's going to do, but at least I wasn't abandoning my child when they need help, not getting them help that they need. Like you said, that's what it seems clearly has happened in this case.
These parents didn't go as far. These parents didn't go as far as like say, like the parents of, I can't remember his name, in the Matthew Soto and Savannah, case. But, like they didn't go as far as like show up at the scene, bring, hand him a towel, clean everything up, get the gun, even and everything like that. But I mean, I think they should be held accountable. I don't envy this jury. I think it could easily be a hung jury. If not guilty, I think it's either going to be guilty or hung. But
So Travis, I think Travis had said earlier that she'll be found guilty, but it'll end up going to the Supreme Court. And
yeah, he said something like that.
If so are we incorrect in thinking that this is going to set a precedent if she's found guilty and it is what it is and she's sentenced, or does it have to go to the Supreme Court to be able to actually call it and consider it a precedent?
Well, no, I mean, it won't be, it won't set a precedent until it does. I mean, because it'll have to be challenged in order to set a precedent.
Right.
So I mean, like once like the verdict comes in, there will be case law that supports the next case like it, and then that'll have to be brought up as an appeal on the basis of this case, and that'll bring it into context. But and that's a horrible way to explain that. But
in the trial court level or
the appellate level court, which will lead up to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And it would have to, and to my knowledge, go through the because this is not a federal case, right? This is the state case.
Yeah.
So it would have to go to the Michigan appellate system first.
And I think also mainstream, I think this case is going to set the biggest precedent that it's going to set is that parents are going, if she's found guilty, I think that's going to be the biggest, is other parents are going to be like, wait a second, up to now, you know, if my son did or my daughter did anything, I wasn't responsible. So I think this
Maybe
can
they'll do
also
something
lead
better.
for a change to like a positive change, that maybe parents are going to be afraid, like parents that they know that the kids might be a little troubled. And I mean, trust me, as a parent, you know, and whoever tells me that they don't know, I remember, you know, once I was talking to one of the killers, one of the moms I interviewed her, I had a chance to talk to her, and she said that she always knew that he was a bad apple. And that's what she said. I always knew he was a bad apple, but I was ashamed to admit it.
Well, of course, who wouldn't be? No one wants to admit that other kid.
But that's the thing, that if she would, and I get it as a mom, let me tell you, I get it. But when you see something, you have to, you know, you need to prevent. Like I see my child is having a little bit of aggression. So what do I do about it? Do I sit and wait? Is it a phase? Could be. But if you see your kid is not going out of the phase, and then he's bringing dead birds, and then he's escalating, and then he's putting the cat in the microwave, and then, you know, God knows doing what to the deers. And that's what this kid used to do. What's next? And I mean, at 17, like his girlfriend accused him and went to the mom and told her that, you know, he raped her. And she was like, no, you know, maybe you said yes and it was your fault, you know, one of those. And I'm just like, I get it. As a mom, you don't want to admit it. But I think one of those things is, in order to prevent, I think one of the ways that we can prevent killings and we can prevent shootings, mass shootings, and school shootings is prevention, especially at home. Because everything, most of them start at home, and they start giving them warning signs when they are little. I get it. Some of them come from very troubled. Some of them are already, you know, they're predisposed. They're born psychopaths. That's not their fault. But, you know, not every psychopath is a murderer. But most of the murders are psychopaths.
To me, a good example of that is that, you know, remember when parents started getting charged for their for providing alcohol, or any adult for providing alcohol to minors, that led to the death of, you know, like say you host, your kids had a party and you supplied the alcohol. When that started to happen, I think socially, it created a cultural change where people were much less inclined to
do it. Yeah.
To do that.
It was called contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and that could be so many different things.
Absolutely. And, you know, because there became then consequences to that. So this could have a cultural shift as far as, you know, what it means, you know, when you have guns in your home, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. And I think it is going to have a positive. I think it's going to have a positive shift. Is it going to be overnight? No, but I think it's going to take a while. And I think you're going to see cases like this more often now.
And what are you going, like, what is the message if it's a hung jury or not guilty? Then what's the message going to be?
That the jury had the exact same problem that we're all having discussing it, because it's a very complex issue.
I think she's going to be found guilty. I don't know why, but I think she will be found guilty.
I think it'll be hung or guilty.
Oh,
I mean, I think that you like, yeah, I mean, the jurors are confused because obviously this is the first time. I mean, she's not being accused herself of murdering. It's, this is something that's never done before. This is the first time. So I think they have to understand that basically her actions led to what he did.
let me end that poll, because why was I so stupid and poll? Why was I so stupid and forgot to put hung jury in there? And Alexa, why are you looking like Shelly says, like you're in a smoke room or something?
Yeah, like you're in a sauna.
I think
her
it's my
Barbara Walters
I think
filter.
it's my screen.
that's
Oh, that's
better.
what it is.
Yeah. Oh, you had your thing over it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's
thought
just
you
that.
had your whole Barbara Walter filter going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
second.
No, sorry. Yeah. Actually, no, you can see me better. No, I think the other way it's better. That way you can't see. I don't have any makeup on,
No,
nothing.
you look beautiful.
No, you look beautiful.
All
Thank
three of
you.
you do, actually. I didn't say that earlier.
Go on, Adam. I got a couple minutes to, go.
Well,
Yeah,
turn
just
your
tell-
camera off again, and I'll. You all look gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The check is in the mail.
I feel like I don't know, because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's so hard, because this is clearly it's their inaction that allowed things to get to the point where he took a gun to school.
Mhm.
That they bought him.
So at what point, like, are they're charged with manslaughter?
Mhm.
Maybe it should be
Like an involuntary. It's almost like an involuntary.
Yeah.
One of the things I told Sunny today, I think we were chatting with Sunny earlier, is if there's a school shooting, and let's say, God forbid, in my kid's school, I don't think the first thing I think is, oh my God, are my kids okay? Are their friends okay? So I hope everybody's okay. I don't go, oh my God, what did Alexis do? Oh my
Yes,
God.
exactly.
But she knew immediately. And not one person, 3 people said the minute she heard, she was like, what did Ethan do? And she
And-
ran to see if the gun was in the glove box.
And
So what does that tell you?
Yes, exactly.
So I think for me, until then, I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I get it. Not every parent should be held responsible. I get it. But in this case, minute I heard that, that was my deciding factor. I was
Right.
like, she knew.
That's why I'm like, I think these parents should be held accountable.
Yeah.
I just don't think. I just.
I
wish
think there will
this
be
one-
exceptions. I think there will be exceptions. I mean, if you're a good parent and you do everything and you can be with your kids 100%, but are you responsible for them? That comes the question. Technically, you are.
You are. I mean, legally, yeah. Legally, yes, you are.
Yeah, you are.
His brain is not fully formed.
And if your child is, one of those trouble kids that they can't do, then you know what? Find a solution. Then legally, there's so many legal avenues that you can go that you won't be held responsible.
Right. And the answer should never be to wear the outfit that the reporter on the screen is wearing.
And this one, I feel the mom she was not a parent. And I hate to criticize parents because you don't know their lives. You don't know. But for what we can see, and I guess she's there to judge, and we are judging her. To me, she seems like she didn't care. She was too busy. I think she paid more attention to her horses than her child.
Well, the pictures of the shooting, the crosshairs, like on the wall of the house, like, oh, here, just hang up your shooting pictures on your bedroom wall.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an extreme example of something that I don't think is reflective of every home in America where this happens.
No.
But
Well, Tara, I don't know.
Good.
I mean, this is kind of getting a little bit off the point, but somebody needs to be held accountable for stuff like that. Like, what Alexa is perfectly right when she says everything starts at home, but the dynamic of the family nowadays is not what it used to be. And why is that? Because society doesn't allow for a single income anymore. Parents don't have the time, and we're all stressed out, and we're all so busy stressing out about life in general that we're not paying our kids enough attention. But when you've got a child who has serious mental issues like schizophrenia, I mean,
Bottom line is,
The pictures he drew.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
you don't encourage that. You try to deter,
This,
that behavior. You don't
this,
encourage and say, "Hey, here's a gun."
yeah,
Make it more feasible for you to go on your dark
exactly.
rampage.
This kid knew what he wanted to do, and we can't go into the psychology as to why he wanted to do it.
Attention. This
attention.
kid
we know
needed
that-
attention and
But
love.
we know that he planned this for months, like you said. He
Mhm.
was given the tools to plan it for months, and he drew pictures. I mean, there were so many things that led to this, and no one stopped him.
And what were the parents doing? Absolutely shit. That's the bottom line of this to me. The parents, they weren't taking care of their children. If they noticed, like I said, signs, like if they were taking care of their children in a sense, properly in a sense, and knowing that he had issues, you don't you don't buy a child that has mental issues a gun, but they're not even caring. They're not even thinking about like a shooting happening and stuff like that. Of course not. And that's why it says it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt. Then all of a sudden, oh, hey, triple chin.
Oh my! Oh, where'd Alexa go?
Dropped.
Bye, Alexa.
She'll be back. But like I said, this isn't just your average, ordinary kind of parenting that you're, this is full on. Basically, that a lot of signs were there. He had the tools to commit this. When really it boils down to, correct, most of it's someone's looking for attention. They're not getting it. They're angry, resentment inside. And then something like this happens.
I'm going to drop right back to Adam Lanza, though. Like, his mom thought she was doing the right thing with her. What did he have? Asperger's.
Yeah.
He was interested in guns. It was basically the only thing that she could get him interested in, and gun safety and all of that was taught to this boy. And, like, did she know that there was a serious issue? Did she know that she was in danger? I think maybe there was an inkling out there. But, yeah.
Travis says parents are not responsible for they're not responsible, but they're responsible for their own criminal conduct in relation to the crime their child commits. That's
Civilly liable. That's a good.
So they're not they're not liable for the so to charge these parents with murders would be wrong, but to charge them with manslaughter, is that fair? Like, when we talk about the Gannon Stouch case, his mom washed his clothes. She was charged criminally with her behavior relating to the crime her child committed.
Yeah, that was Aiden Fucci, not Gannon Stock.
No, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Aiden Fucci. I apologize. But yeah, so Travis is right. But I mean,
well, something needs to be done about all these shootings going on and all these kids that, like Alexa, I think had said there, is that when you look at the school shootings that happen, it's usually because they're having mental health issues going on, And to me, bottom line is like, yeah, I think that there definitely needs to be something to say, look, take care of your kids in a sense. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Meaning this is going out to you neglectful, freaking shitty ass parents out there who don't give two fucks about what their kids' mental health issues are going on. And if you're not, and you're showing that you're incapable of being an actual decent parent to your children, and then they go pull something like this, you should be held criminally responsible for basically. I mean, in this case, it's kind of like, here's a gun. We don't, who cares? I mean, like, they turned an eye to it because they would have never expected this to happen. But of course,
do you guys remember? I think everybody up here will remember a commercial that used to come on at 10 p.m.
Oh,
just the voice.
You know where your children are.
You know where your children
10 p.m.
are.
You know where your. I mean, we need the same kind of sentiment nowadays. Only, do you know what your children are into?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you know who your child is talking to online? Do you know? You know what I mean?
Funny, yeah. That one always sticks in my head.
Yeah.
Do you know where you? That's something I'd always even say to someone if they understood the joke. I'd always be like, "Do you know where your children are?"
Because when we were kids, if it was still light out at 9 or 10, chances are, no, my parents didn't know where I was.
Well, at this point, they'd have to like do that to like the Netflix. They'd have to be like, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are?
Yeah.
You know, the thing is that, I mean, how many children out there, I'm sorry, like I said, all of us that are on the panel, mostly, maybe not Adam so much, but maybe, we grew up in a thing where you went outside and you played, you actually got physical activity done and stuff like that. All these children in this generation and prior sit on their computers a lot, play their gaming, you know, YouTubing, finding the easy way out to make an income in a sense. A lot of them.
Yeah, but American kids have been matched. You know, like look at Columbine. Those kids grew up. I'm the same age as them, as those kids were.
Oh yeah. But
So this has been going on, and like you know, I grew up where you didn't come in until the porch lights came on.
You're that young, really?
I was. Yeah, that was my senior year of high school.
Was that?
Yeah, I mean, also they were different. I mean, I think the world has changed in 20 years so much, you know, obviously, you know, and I think it started with the family. Like before, there was that sense of family, and also kids. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, is kids, you could tell a child no, and it was okay. Now it's like, how dare do you tell your child no? It's like, you know, it's almost like nowadays parents want to be they're so invested in being their kid's friend. And that is BS. I have somebody that I know at the kids' school that she's like, oh, my kids are my best friend. And I'm like, and she's like, aren't they? And I'm like, not my best friend. I'm definitely not my best. And they will never be my best friend.
Yeah.
Because we're not equal. In order to be my best friend, you have to be my equal. And they will never be equal.
But when they become adults, they can become very good friends.
Yeah, they can become, I guess I could, you know, like I am with my mom. But they're still going to be, you know, my best friend. I call her and I say anything. I'm not going to go and, you know, I see a lot of, you know, older, you know, my friends have older kids. And I see some of them like even talk about sex. And I mean, I could never do that to my mom. I don't feel comfortable speaking.
That to me is a level of respect, and that's
so, you know, yeah. And, you know, and I had a very close relationship with my mom, even though we fight like cats and dogs because I think she's a little narcissistic, but that's a different story.
There's more about going postal.
But, you know, so I think the respect, and I think society nowadays is, you know, kids, they're afraid to say no. Like before, like when we were little, it was first, second, and third place. Now it's like you win an award for being 10th place. Give me a break. No, it's okay to win first place and you don't win. Show them that it's okay to lose. That's okay. Try harder next time.
Nowadays, it's not really like that.
But nowadays, it's like, yeah, like 10th place. I'm like, no. I'm sorry. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. Maybe I'm a bad mom, but I don't believe in that. I think teach your kids the good and the bad, because that's how the world is.
Well,
not everything is going to be rainbow.
You earn things. So when I was in school playing sports, you had to earn your spot on the basketball team. You had to earn your spot on that volleyball team. If not, you got cut from that team, and you either work harder. But now I remember when Matthew went to Whitecourt, and freaking there was like, I'm not even kidding, there was like 30 kids on the team. Like,
there are other people get other places other than first.
Yeah, it's true, Adam. I know you're not used to being second. But
that's sad. That's sad for other people.
The thing is that it's all about teaching. Like I said, there's like different things. Like I said, I like the fact that I had to work hard in order to achieve something, that it just didn't come easy. You know, and yes, some kids aren't very, you know, some kids aren't great at sports and stuff like that. You know, like, you know, whatever. Go Mac for me. I don't care. But meaning at the end of the day, it was simply that you had to work hard in order to achieve things, you know, and society is totally different now. I mean, there's no changing it. It's definitely lazier. It's definitely easier. We can shop. We can do pretty much everything. Can you freaking order a gun off Amazon now? Probably.
And that word no. I think that word no, that, you know, kids they don't know the word no. And they don't know that it's okay if somebody says no, no. And I think that, and I see it with my own kids, and they always push and they always go, they always tell me, oh, but somebody else's parents said, and okay, what can I tell you? Fortunately, you got stuck with me.
Let's just tackle this, because I want your guys' opinions on this. Maybe these violent movies and games are really damaging.
No, they did a study, and I a lot of people say that. I've seen it, and I think does it contribute? Yes. Does it make a non-violent kid violent? No. And they have done studies. They always want to blame. See, as a parent, you always want to blame somebody else. Oh, my kid did it because his friend told him. No, I mean, yeah, if your child is violent and they're being, they're playing games that are always violent, killing, and that, of course, that's going to contribute. And yes, that's going to come negative. But you cannot turn a non-violent kid violent just by watching games.
When I was a kid, it was Doom was the game.
Yeah, I remember Doom.
Doom was the game that everyone blamed Columbine on. Now it's Call of Duty. Now it's Grand Theft Auto. So the games have changed, but the argument has remained. And like Ivy said, it wasn't these kids that created this everyone gets a ribbon rule. And that's true. It wasn't. It wasn't these kids that demanded everyone gets acknowledgement. It was their parents.
Yeah, it was the Gen Xers who fight for everything that we got, and we didn't want our kids to go through that same stuff. We didn't realize the monster we were creating. And back in my day, it wasn't a video game. They blamed it on heavy metal music.
Yeah, that's
so.
Correct.
I mean, this is not something Ozzy Osbourne or Judas Priest or play the Beatles backwards, for crying out loud. Like, there's always somebody else to blame. Nobody ever looks inward and finds their
John
own
Denver makes me want to commit violence.
Right? I mean, he makes it to this day.
Okay, you guys, let me play this clip here. It's not very long, but this is the one where they talk about today's events a little bit. Okay, let me do that, because Daisy had asked a question before about, there was a couple questions that the jury came back and asked. But anyway, so let's just play this for a minute. And let's go here.
Jennifer Crumbley. The jurors deliberated for nearly 7 hours today, and then the judge sent them home and told them to return tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Let's take a look at the juror makeup. These are the jurors that are deciding this case. We have 6 women in this case and 6 men. The ages range from the early 20s to the early 70s. Now, during the day today, as they deliberated, they did have 2 different questions. The first one was in regard to the theories by the state and whether or not the theories, one, had to support the other. So the judge said to them, take a look at the jury instructions for guidance. The second question was a lot of insight into this case and wondering from the jurors if they can infer anything from the evidence the state did not present in this case, specifically the fact that the state did not call Ethan Crumbley to the stand to talk about how he got his hands on the gun. The judge said to the jurors, brought them into the courtroom and said, you cannot infer anything from that. Let's listen to some of the closing arguments in this case.
We actually saw the last day he was practicing to kill 4 of his classmates. And there was only one person with him, ladies and gentlemen, and her name is Jennifer Crumbley. And I want you to remember that video. And I want you to remember the look on his face when that target comes back in and he looks at it and he's smiling.
This case is a very dangerous one for parents out there. It just is. And it is one of the first of its kind. Luckily, however, this is a case where the prosecution cannot meet its burden of proof. And thankfully, it's a case where truly Mrs. Crumbley does have a defense.
And Jennifer Crumbley took the stand in her own defense. Let's listen to some of her cross-examination.
Now, the one thing that seemed consistent with your son, to you at least, is his desire to obtain a weapon. Is that right?
I wouldn't say that, no.
He had a consistent desire to obtain a weapon.
Not to me, he did not.
Okay. You didn't know about the 9mm?
Oh, I knew about it.
Okay. You didn't know about the 22s?
I knew about them.
And in fact, you posted on Instagram that he got himself a 22
Correct.
in June of 2021.
Correct.
And from that time up until the November 26, 21 purchase, he was wanting to get a 9mm.
I know him and my husband had discussed getting a 9mm. I'm not part of those conversations.
But you knew about it.
I knew, but not that he was so, however you described it.
I said he consistently had a desire to obtain a weapon.
I know they consistently talked about it. Correct.
Okay.
And after this long day of deliberations, the judge did release some of the alternates. The rest of the jurors will be back tomorrow morning at 9. That's the latest from here in Pontiac, Michigan. Michael, we'll send it back to you.
1 second there, guys. Let's see here. So Ariel sent me this thing about the jurors. So juror 1, it's saying white female, works in HR, two adult children, father was a hunter. Okay. The only thing that's going through my head right now is so Ariel just said full credit for jury info is to MLS, making law simple. I just wrote down what he was saying on there. My thing is so basically it's talking about each of the jurors about, I guess they're, sorry, go back to it here. Download. Was that just the one? Okay, download. Has no issues with guns. Can be. Well, I guess we can kind of look at it. Yeah. I mean, hold on a second. Okay, I just downloaded it. You guys can say whatever you want right now.
I mean, just listen to this. I was not part of that conversation, meaning that now she's trying to blame that the husband, the 22 gun was the discussion between the husband and the son. But aren't you a family? I mean, as a mom, nothing.
Sorry,
My husband, when we agree on something, is him and I agree. He's not allowed to agree with my kids without going through me, and vice versa. Out of respect, not that, we have to do it, but it's out of respect. It's something major like that. We discuss, maybe they want to do something, but he always says, hey, you have to run it with your mother first. Oh, I have to run it with your mother first. So, to me, that sounds she is just trying to shift the blame and put it, but that's how disconnected she feels. And I feel like that's how it was. Like, it's almost like she didn't take the role of a mom. And, your job also as a mom is to know everything, even if your kids are having a conversation with their father, know what they want to buy. Especially something like that, a gun. I always believe when you have a gun, is you pull it and it's to kill. But you have to be mentally prepared that the day that, God forbid, you have to withdraw that gun and you have to shoot it, you have to live with those consequences, because it's not easy to live with those consequences. And you have to be mature enough to know that, you will be killing a human being, or you can kill a human being. So, I mean, guns are so, I get it. Kids idolize it and everything, but nobody sees the responsibility. When you start driving, everybody tells you, a car is a weapon and all the dangers of the car. But I feel with the guns, they don't do the same. And they never teach anybody. And I never heard this. And I remember when I learned to shoot, that was the one thing my instructor told me is always, he goes, you have to be prepared for what comes next. The mental thing that you withdraw your gun, you shoot it, and you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. So I think that should be something that I think it should be taught more. But I think it's never been taught. I mean, I guess I was lucky, but nobody talks about that.
Necessary Evil had Charles Godwin had a really good point. Someone eventually has to be made an example, or of, or people will never take this seriously. I agree with that.
Mhm.
It's just a shame it has to be, it had to get to this point.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just go through this here quickly. So on the jury, it says jury one is a white female, works in HR, two adult children. Father was a hunter, gave up watching news 6 years ago. Pretty uninformed, knew the father had guns when she was, or knew her father had guns when she was young, and that they were locked up, not for us children. Juror number two, white, 26-year-old married male, grew up in a strict Christian home, works in sales for the mortgage industry, took hunter's safety at 16, not an avid hunter, father had guns, and has a CCW permit, doesn't have strong opinions on guns, doesn't have cable TV, tries to stay away from social media, despises TikTok. Get him off there. Juror three, white female hairstylist, says she's familiar with the case, has no issues with guns, and can be impartial. Jury five, white female, married, has guns in the house, says that they're locked up, has two grown children, and recalls taking gun safety classes. This is kind of interesting, actually, because these are just things like, when they're looking for the jurors, like the things about them, really, and whether or not they make a good juror or not. As let's see, recalls taking gun safety classes with the family when kids were young, and thank you, Ariel. Works for a bank, feels she can be fair. Juror six, white female, married, retired, compliance specialist daughter, a special education teacher on a jury many years ago, has reportedly taken furious notes during the trial. Juror seven, white male doctor, sees a lot of gun violence, owns multiple guns, stores them safe, very strong proponent of the Second Amendment, goes to the shooting range once or twice a month. Sorry, just gotta, go back to it. Let's see here. Juror eight, white male, automotive engineer, has twins, has a collector's gun that belongs to a relative, doesn't use guns. Doesn't use guns. I think that's supposed to say regularly. Juror 11, single white female, no children, has gun personal for protection, worked 16 years as a police officer for a university, now handles parking tickets, kind of like a judge for university parking. Juror 12, black male, single, no children, sales manager, father has a gun, and taught him gun safety. Juror 13, single white male, works as a powertrain engineer, doesn't own guns, but went to the shooting range for fun over the last year, grew up in Nebraska, said engineering brain makes him a good juror, as he will be able to carefully analyze evidence as it applies to the charges. Shannon Smith joked with him that the engineers don't go on juries. Okay. Juror 14, white male, parole officer, says he is fair. How did it go from 8 to 11? Okay.
Those are the numbers they were assigned.
I was going to say, yeah, it must be right. Sees success stories, married with children, has guns at home, keeps in storage, kids not interested in guns. And I'll just quickly read because there's only like one more, I believe. Juror 16 is a white female, married, infant son, works in billing, originally from the UP, used to be a hunter, remembers getting days off from school for hunting as a kid. Sister was a target of a school shooting, but the shooting was prevented before it started. Okay. Interesting. I've never actually seen something like that before, to be honest with you. Like, kind of like a little bit of breakdown about the jurors that are, say, in the case or whatever. So thank you, Ariel, for that. Or from Simply Law, whatever it was called again. But anyways, yeah, have you guys, like, I mean, it's one of those things that I don't think about, but there's part of me that wonders, like when they're picking them.
After the fact, I've seen stuff like this,
Yeah.
but never before a verdict. I agree. Honestly, Travis, that's what I thought in my own mind, like there, but for the grace of God, go I, because I didn't know everything that my kids did, So in this case, I think the history is pretty clear that they had plenty of opportunities to intervene, but in most cases, I don't think that normal parents that are doing their best in the society that we live in can be held criminally responsible for what their kids do. In most cases.
Well, there definitely, again, has to be something done with all these shootings, going on. I think that there has to be accountability somewhere, and if that happens to be in the home because you're not doing right by your kid, do you know what I mean? I'm talking about being grossly negligent to the extreme. I think there's a bunch of things up until this that showed that this kid is crying for help, and you're not paying attention to your kid or what he's doing because you're too busy, whatever with the horses and having affairs, and you couldn't be asked to see any of these signs as parents, and then you go buy him a gun and stuff like that, and then something like this. I think that there has to be accountability, and that parent should start being scared and taking care of their kids. You know what I mean? If this is a wake-up call to a lot of parents out there that, that realize that, hey, you know what? My kid does have signs of some, of some sort of mental illness, or that he's, again, unless you're oblivious to your child, and you don't give two rats ass about what your kids do, then you're a shit parent to me. Because like I said, it's our job. These are our children. We gave birth to them. It's our responsibility to bring them up in the best morally, ethical, honest, way that we can. And again, so if a parent does that and a child goes and does this, no. Should there be charges against them? No. But if in this case, like I said, if you are found grossly negligent, and that you could have prevented this at some point along those 100 things that were before this, or 200 things that were before this, to show that, look, like I said, there's all these signs, and you still made no attempt to get him any sort of help whatsoever, and then you go home thinking, it's almost like sometimes parents, they're just like, oh, that, my kid just always acts up or does this and whatever. And they don't think nothing about it, because again, it's not exactly easy parenting. That's for sure.
I think this is going to be a wake up call for that, for those type of parents that are what we call the shitty parents, I guess we can say, the ones that, don't care, and they think, now they know that they have a child that has a problem. And I guess, if at least you don't want to do anything, at least don't buy him a gun, or don't buy her a gun. Don't make those type of weapons, don't bring accessibility to them. I understand if the kid then went backwards and, went and bought the gun from somewhere, that might be a different story. But I think in this case, I think the parents basically gave him in a platter, in a silver platter, the gun, and knowingly that what they knew about her kid, what she knew about her child. So I think parents like this, stories like this, I think they should be 100% accountable for.
So maybe that's why this can be looked at as a good example to use, because it is so blatantly clear and will set a certain standard that not a lot of parents are going to meet.
They can double think it and say,
Hopefully.
hey, wait a second, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Again, Bossy, I agree. It's also to teach proper coping mechanisms. And again, yeah, I agree. And if you can't, then provide the assistance the child needs. So I actually need to go soon. So.
No, we're gonna head off here anyway. I think that's good for tonight on the Jennifer, and then tomorrow, obviously, hopefully that we'll see a verdict. We'll see what happens in it. But let me just look at the. I want to look at the. So tomorrow, so far, 52%. 50. Oh, it keeps changing. People are starting to. So let's say it's at 48% say guilty, 6% say not guilty, 19% say hung jury, and then 26% are just clueless. They're just clueless. But yeah. So, so before we go, you guys, thank you to Alexa for coming on. Thank you to Charmaine, of course, for the gifted memberships, as well as joining us tonight, and Gail Hurd. Thank you very much as well for the $10 super sticker, and to tell those people that It's a Crime and Shame gave gift certificates to, gift memberships to. Of course, don't forget you guys can play with some new emojis. I was just playing around today making new emojis on there. I was just like, yeah, make some cooler ones.
Alexa, thank you for coming on and giving your opinion, because I value it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I mean, she
Especially
had
that-
asked me to come, but I said I had to finish some stuff, and then
And especially having two young boys, just sadly, it ends up being boys that end up doing these things mostly. So
Typically,
not to discount Charmaine at
No.
all. And I know Sonny's son is older, but Alexa has two boys that are pre-pubescent, or preteens,
Yeah.
and it's a good perspective. So thank you.
I really was hoping, because me and Alexa were talking about this earlier, and so I was really hoping, because I just really wanted to hear, come voice her opinions as well on there. And again, I mean, it's one of those cases that it's like it's like a divide,
yeah, it gets heated. Yeah, I know it gets heated.
It's just that there has to be accountability,
Right.
obviously for your own actions. But, again, in this case, well, we'll just have to see. Again, tomorrow the jury comes in. They probably
Maybe.
You guys think they will do a verdict tomorrow?
I do.
I think probably.
I think so.
Hey, Daisy, let me know if I can do anything for you, but we're praying for your husband. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, Daisy. Prayers to your husband there. Hope he feels better. Give him some aspirin if he hasn't had any, if you have some of that. Especially if there's like chest pains and whatever. Aspirin is your like little go-to, really. It's an old one that we were given, the Bayer's aspirin, as kids, but most people, I don't think a lot of people talk about it too much. It's always Advil or Tylenol, more so in that. But yeah, thank you, mods. Thank you, guys. Charmaine, anything last minute thoughts?
No.
No?
Not at all.
Yeah, tits up.
Absolutely. Always.
Oh, you know what our problem was? We didn't play a funny at the end on there. Adam, do you not have a funny? That's your job now. To provide a
So
funny.
many funnies.
What?
I got a Gen X one.
I will say there was a skit on Saturday Night Live this weekend that I saw that was it was like a fake game show where they did you had to explain why you wrote your internet comment on Instagram. It was hilarious because it kind of like encompassed all of like social media and how people will like post the most horrific, horrible things as a comment on someone's video or a picture. And then they kind of like, why did you do that? And they're like, because I'm lonely and don't talk to people and no one likes me and I just wanted attention. I thought it was hilarious.
Well, again, you got Adam or Charmaine, whenever you're on the liker. You gotta, yeah, even if it's a couple, like, right, we have to have a funny thing for when we leave the live instead of this. So we all know true crime is heavy, and it can definitely is very emotional space in the internet world for sure. But yeah, and so Cordy was like, you guys should have something. And honestly, yeah, like I said, when I would go to bed, I would always watch something funny to take away from like a heavy day or a long day and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you guys for all your thoughts and all your opinions as well. Again, we're just here to discuss it, and however it turns out, it will turn out. And whether you agree with it or not, we'll see how it goes, eh? So
and who knows what Delphi will bring tomorrow?
Who knows? Maybe the opinion.
Probably
So
something.
this isn't overly funny, but it kind of goes with the theme tonight, I think.
Oh, it's not funny?
It's amusing. It's amusing.
Oh.
It's not like tight pants.
So if you hear me go boo.
No, you won't boo.
Okay, let's see. Full screen, let's go.
Like that video I made the other day about why Gen X raised their kids the way they did. So this is part 2. You want to know what's not healed from your childhood? Have a couple kids of your own. Boomer and Silent Gen parents figured since they turned out okay, so would their kids. Well, their kids are not okay, and neither are they. But they would never tell you that. Most of Gen X has a lot of deeply suppressed trauma they've never dealt with. Why? Because we were told to be quiet. We were to be seen and not heard. We weren't allowed to have feelings. Stop that crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Suck it up, nobody cares. Nobody stuck up for us and nobody came to our defense. We were on our own. We learned really young the world was not a nice place. So naturally, when we started having our own kids, we poured every ounce of ourselves into them. We nurtured them, we stuck up for them, we gave them everything we never had. We helped them make every decision, and we helicoptered them. Did we overcompensate? Fuck yeah, we did. Their crippling anxiety is partly our fault. We put a bubble around them. We didn't want anything to hurt them. We knew what it felt like to be hurt. But we also taught them to stick up for themselves, to have a voice, to be loud, to be heard. We taught them that their feelings matter, that they matter. Were we perfect? No. Did we try real fucking hard? Hell yeah, we did. We didn't knock it out of the park, but we sure put a big fucking dent in it. Well, it seems some of you.
Or I mean, that's so true.
It is.
It is.
That's so true. The things that we heard was, like I said, you want something to cry, I'll give you something to cry about, suck it up, da. And that's exactly what I did with Matthew. When he was born, I literally did that. I'm gonna, all those things that basically I was made to feel or whatever. I was like, you're gonna get all the hugs, you're gonna, everything. That was so true. Actually, I was,
My parents.
and so right. And to be honest with you, in a sense, right? I mean, parents. If people think that all these kids are monsters, look to the parent that has created these little monsters, in a sense. Because
you know what our family motto is? Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
Buttercup. Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, we created the people who are creating these school shooters.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. We're huge. We're huge. I don't think we need to be that huge, do we? Hold on.
Travis is going to put on his tight pants, the only one in his town with tight pants.
Yeah, I don't want to see Travis. I don't want to see tight pants on. All right, mind you, I watched that again the other day. I know it's not Alexa's cup of tea, but I literally, it was still open, and I was just like watching it again. And I was like, that I love Saturday night type of lives. I like that.
Yeah. You can never get the tight pants song out of your head once it's there.
I love Matthew McConaughey first and foremost.
Me too. That is very Magic Mike. I love it.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, you guys, we're gonna head on out of here. Again, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys so much. And we will, unless there's something, whatever, our lives are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then Saturday we do true crime with me and Charmaine for Saturdays. Other than that, the rest of those days are YOLO. If something happens important, I'll go live. If there's not, chances I might not. If I'm bored, I might go live. So Tuesdays and Thursdays and Sundays are really, just days.
I'm not looking at my phone until Wednesday.
All right. Just send me any documents in case I happen to miss them.
I'm not going to look at my phone.
It's funny. You're not in trouble. Anyways, you guys take care. Have a great night. I'm just going to put the banner on.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care, guys. And I just got to find the outro. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye.